In a huge office building, a kid is trudging up the stairs, totally wiped out, saying he feels like he's about to faint. He just climbed 28 floors and wonders why nobody warned him about all this. If he had known, he wouldn't have taken this delivery. He rings the doorbell and lets her know the delivery is here. A woman with a frown answers, saying finally, and asks why he took so long, leaving him a bit puzzled. She grabs the bag from him and says he was too slow, so no extra tip for him. He points to the elevator, mentioning he climbed 28 floors, but she's more worried about the food being cold. While he sits there fuming, she says you just can't trust delivery people these days. He wants to tell her to get off her lazy butt and come get it herself. But of course, he keeps that to himself. As she slams the door in his face, he apologizes, reminding himself to stay chill and breathe deeply. He can't afford too many bad reviews, or he won't be able to deliver anymore. Now he realizes he has to go back down the 27 floors he just climbed. Back on his scooter, he thinks it's his own fault for being a broke loser. Something catches his eye, and when he looks over, he spots a dungeon portal. Just like a few years back, portals popped up that let people enter different realms. These realms were filled with creatures that were way too strong for humans to handle alone. Then one day, the gods picked some humans to give them special powers. These chosen ones would go into the dungeons and be known as hunters. But for him, seeing a portal is a bad sign since he'll have to take a different street because going in there is risky. Out of nowhere, his boss calls, yelling at him about what happened with the last delivery. The boss tells him to stop causing trouble because he has a lot on his plate. He mentions that the order he messed up was for someone important, so he'll be in trouble if he doesn't get more orders. He tries to say something, but the boss has already hung up. He checks the app and sees that the woman from the 28th floor threw the food in the toilet because she claimed it was old and cold. He wants to call his boss to explain, but he's being ignored. Now the kid is in deep trouble. He's already behind on his rent this week. Staring at the gate, he wonders why. He can't be one of the chosen ones and live a chill life as a hunter. Worn out, he just wants to head home and relax until his phone buzzes with a delivery request. He's surprised by the window since he's never seen it before. Out of curiosity, he decides to click on it. The phone flashes, and when he opens his eyes, he finds himself in a place that looks like heaven. He's scared and confused about where he is. Is this a dream, or has some magical being finally chosen him? Nothing has really happened yet, but he's already tearing up, thinking his delivery boy days are over. But then he notices his phone still shows a delivery to make, complete with a map. He's puzzled because it says he needs to pick up a nectar. With no better options, he decides to accept the delivery. The moment he clicks, the golden gate in front of him swings open. He swallows hard, unsure of where he's headed, and starts riding above the clouds, passing the castle. He checks his phone and feels scared. That spot is exactly where the map points, but it feels surreal. It's truly where the gods reside. He steps into a palace with massive pillars. Standing in front of a giant door, he wonders if this is where he's meant to pick up the items. Hesitant, he knocks, thinking that if a god is inside, he might have a shot at becoming a hunter. Someone opens the door and asks who he is. Spotting the girl with blonde hair and a white cloak, he instantly recognizes her as a goddess. Stumbling over his words, he says he's there for the order, but she steps closer and asks why a human is in Olympus. She claims he's intruding, but he points to his phone, saying he's here to collect a bottle of nectar. She looks thoughtful and mentions it might be Hermes' doing. She sighs and tells him to wait while she gets something humans shouldn't even touch. She hands him the nectar bottle and warns that if her brother doesn't get it on time, he'll be furious. She gets in his face and warns him not to take a sip, and he assures her he won't. She points to her eyes, saying she's watching him, then slams the door. Once again, he's furious. What kind of nonsense is this? He thought he could leave behind being a delivery boy, but now he's just a delivery guy who's also in trouble with the gods. Looking at the bottle, he thinks it resembles apple juice and considers quitting the job. But then he figures if her brother's getting this, he must be a god too. And since he's in Olympus, why not ask this guy to turn him into something mythical? He puts on his helmet, feeling pumped, declaring this will be his high final delivery. With that, he zooms off through the lava. A notification pops up saying he's getting close. After a heap of magma, he spots a tiny house. He reaches the door, totally worn out from the heat, and shouts that the delivery is here. Suddenly, the door swings open. The poor guy is sweating buckets because it's boiling inside. In the background, a dwarf is hammering at a forge and turns around, fuming, asking who just walked in. Feeling awkward, the protagonist insists he's not a trespasser, just delivering a package. The dwarf steps closer, squinting, saying it looks like his sister sent this guy. The boy can't believe they're siblings since they look nothing alike. But then the dwarf realizes he's not Hermes. Getting ready to unleash his aura, he says the boy showed up uninvited. The protagonist, feeling shy, explains it was his sister who asked him to drop this off. The dwarf sees the nectar bottle is still full and tells the boy it's impressive he didn't take a sip. The boy replies he's not that kind of thief. Of course, he wouldn't drink someone else's stuff, so he hands it over, saying the dwarf can take it. The dwarf chuckles, saying the boy is really honest. A sip of that nectar could make him a god, yet he felt no urge to try it. At this point, the protagonist is puzzled, realizing if he had taken a sip, he might be a god now. He excitedly reaches for the bottle, saying his delivery days are over, but then something interrupts him. The dwarf snatches it, pops the cap off. The protagonist tries to speak up, but it's too late. The dwarf has already gulped down a big swig. He tosses the bottle to the ground, saying it's even better when you chug it all at once. The kid's crushed, while the dwarf says he hasn't had such fresh nectar in ages. Introducing himself as Hephaestus, he asks who the kid is. He says his name is Hyjin Lee. Hephaestus thanks him, calling him very straightforward. Before Hyjin can say anything, the dwarf starts to leave, saying he's ready to get back to work now that he's refreshed. Hyjin puts a hand on his shoulder, asking him to hold on. The dwarf asks what's up, and Hyjin mentions he hasn't been paid yet. Hephaestus turns back, asking if he means the delivery fee. If that's the case, he should have already gotten it, and he walks off laughing like a fool. Just then, Hyjin checks his app, which flashes a light that temporarily blinds him. On his app, it shows 1,000 points. He's in bed, thinking it can't be a dream. The moment he looked at the app, he was surrounded by light and found himself back on Earth. Now this little screen is right in front of him. He's frustrated, saying he has no clue how to use these points. He was just face to face with a god, and all he wanted was to be the strongest S-rank hunter out there. The system pings him, saying points can be traded for items in the shop. He decides to go for it since he needs to make these points useful. The shop has everything from a golden apple for 1,000 points to a motorcycle for 100,000. He gets mad, saying nothing is helpful and everything's too pricey. He starts scrolling through the shop, searching for something useful for a hunter's gate. But he quickly realizes it's all pointless. He thinks he can't live this adventurous life until something catches his eye. At the bottom, it shows 10,000 won, or about $10 for 1 point. If that's true, he made 10,000 just from this delivery. Hesitant, he decides to tap it. As soon as he presses it, a 10,000 won bill appears in front of him and lands in his lap. He picks it up, and it feels super real. The system updates, and now he has 999 points. The poor guy can't believe it, looking between the bill and the system. He keeps pressing until bills start pouring down around him. The sly grin on his face has totally faded. He tosses the cash in the air, shouting that this is what he loves. In the next scene, he's happily munching on ramen with sewer worms, looking totally thrilled. He heads to an ATM to check the cash, and it works flawlessly. He's in tears, overwhelmed that he made about $10,000 from just one delivery. The shopkeeper asks if things are really that bad, and he replies that it's actually way too good. He's laughing like a maniac in a corner of the restaurant. As he thinks about what to do with the cash, the TV mentions a guy recruiting. He watches the news about the guild gearing up for the Tartarus Gate, the most dangerous one out there. A guy hired someone who ranked in the top 5 of the hunter exam, and has to deal with the mythical being Hephaestus. He remembers that Hephaestus is the chubby dwarf who's now his best customer. He leaves the restaurant feeling full, and then his phone rings. He kind of expected this, so he brought his scooter along. His phone lights up with a new delivery alert, and just like that, he gets teleported. Back in Olympus, he opens his eyes. But this time, he finds himself in a massive botanical garden. He's trying to figure out where to pick up the delivery when someone calls out his name, Hyjin Lee. A girl shows up, introducing herself as the goddess Demeter. Hyjin greets her, and she mentions she heard about him from her nephew. He asks who her nephew is, and she says it's Hephaestus. The poor guy thinks someone's playing a prank on his family since no one looks alike. Beaming, she says it seems he hasn't had any nectar and asks if she can count on him to deliver something. He eagerly agrees, saying he'll deliver anything. After all, it's easy cash. He imagines that this time he'll get something wild. Demeter channels some energy into her hand and creates a lunchbox. He's a bit puzzled, but she tells him to take this lunchbox to her daughter, explaining that the gods can't leave their palaces without a good reason. Hyjin didn't expect something so straightforward, but at least it'll be simple. He's confident he'll get it done, but suddenly she shivers, and the whole garden around them decays in an instant. He glances around, puzzled about what's going on, but she's already thanking him and leaving. He just hopes the delivery goes smoothly and isn't something dangerous. He stashes the lunchbox on his scooter, thinking that the goddess wouldn't send anything risky to her daughter. He checks the address, but then something catches his eye, and a bright flash snaps him back to reality, leaving him bewildered. The app confirms the delivery is in Korea. He recalls the goddess mentioning they can't leave their palaces without a solid reason, so he figures it must be something important. It looks like he'll meet her daughter when he arrives. He's never been this excited about a delivery before, and is already curious about how many points he'll earn. When he gets to the destination, he takes off his helmet, thinking it must be a prank. The delivery says he has to enter the world's most dangerous dungeon, Tartarus, known as the Hunter's Graveyard. He can't believe it. The daughter must be right at the gate. But his phone says the destination has changed, and the map clearly shows the inside of Tartarus. He yells that there's no way he's going in there and decides to cancel the order. But below the 1 hour mark, it warns that canceling will lead to divine punishment. A timer pops up, giving him 42 minutes before he turns into a pig with a human mind. Feeling hopeless, he wonders what kind of punishment that even is. He should have checked the details first, but nothing adds up. For starters, he can't get past those guards at the gate. He starts imagining all the pork dishes. Just then, the system window pops up again, saying he can check the shop for help. He knows he doesn't have many points, so that won't help. He starts thinking about hiring hunters to go in for him. But in the shop, there's a tiny replica for 800 points, a helmet that hides the user's presence for 30 minutes. He scoffs, saying this limited offer is just a way to drain his points. But since he'll turn into a pig if he doesn't buy it, he decides to get the helmet, swearing off any more jobs. The helmet appears out of nowhere, and as he reaches for it, it rolls away. What a mess. Now that he's equipped, he has 38 minutes to make the delivery. He breezes past the guards, who don't notice him, only sneezing from the chilly wind. He approaches the gate, scared since it's one of the most terrifying places on Earth. With no other choice, he pushes on. Hajin Lee, a 20-year-old delivery guy without a hunter's license, mythical contracts, or any special skills, beats the odds. He becomes the first person to reach the deepest part of Tartarus. Looking around, he notices it's empty, but at least he got there fast and avoided becoming a pig. He starts yelling that the delivery has arrived. Out of the shadows, a three-headed wolf glares at him. The poor guy is freaked out, wondering what it is. The beast approaches, drooling and ready to take a bite. Without any powers, he thinks it might have been better to just turn into a pig. The creature gets closer. He realizes this could be the end. He spent everything on that Dan helmet, and now he's served himself up to this monster. Then he remembers he has 2 uses left on the helmet. The monster lunges to bite as he activates it again, but it's too late until someone tells the beast not to eat anything dirty. The monster freezes for a second. Haijin cautiously opens his eyes, realizing he's still alive. He turns around and spots a little girl. He wonders what a child is doing in the deepest part of Tartarus. She walks over gently, petting the beast and saying it doesn't bite. The poor guy immediately notices she looks just like her mom, Demeter. He asks for permission and mentions he has a delivery. When someone behind him asks where Perkerphone is, a pale man appears, saying she seems to be playing with Cerberus. The man then spots the protagonist and asks how a mortal dared to enter Hades' underworld. Embarrassed, the protagonist tries to explain, but is already scared, having heard it's the king of the underworld. Hades says he's the first human to reach this place in ages since Orpheus. An aura surrounds Haijin, tightening around his neck. The poor guy can't breathe or talk. Hades mentions that Orpheus came here to rescue his dead wife, but this kid came to steal his helmet. As soon as he takes Hades' hand, he realizes it's a fake. Perkerphone suggests they should hear the boy out first. Hayes lets go of Haijin, who drops to the ground coughing. He asks why he came to this place. Gasping for air, he says he's here to make a delivery. Hayes asks if it's for him, the god of the underworld. The guy says that's not right. He brought something his wife sent for their daughter. They exchange confused looks. Hades wants to know why he's the one delivering it instead of Hermes. Shaking, Haijin replies he doesn't know, but that's what he was told. Persephone recognizes the lunchbox. Hates asks if Haijin mentioned it was his wife who asked him to bring it. The poor guy nods, saying she told him to take it to her daughter. Persephone explains it was made by her mother-in-law. The girl beams, saying it arrived warm. But hearing this, Haijin wonders if they're a couple. He points at Hades, calling him disgusting and too old. Oops. He covers his mouth, realizing he blurted that out. But Hades heard him loud and clear and tells him to say it again to the King of the Three. Underworld. The protagonist starts rambling, trying to apologize while shaking. Hades just stares at him and then bursts out laughing. Confused, the protagonist listens as Hades says he never thought a human would dare insult him, the god of the underworld. He asks for Haijin's name, who replies while trembling. Hades warns that since it's the first time, he'll let the disrespect slide. But if it happens again, he just needs to point, and Haijin will feel the energy, knowing exactly what's coming. With that, Hades says the payment's been delivered, and he can thank his mother-in-law. Suddenly, the window flashes and he gets 0 points plus an extra 5,000 from the god of the underworld. Hades even gives back the helmet, telling him to keep the trinket. Heijin shakes with excitement and thanks him with a big smile. The scene shifts to a tired man facing a dragon, getting ready for a fight. Doyen, the captain of Team 1 and a fighter, lands a few hits on the dragon. It strikes back with a claw to his chest. Suddenly, someone attacks from behind with an aura blade, catching the dragon's attention. The strike hits, and the dragon screams in pain as it soars into the sky before crashing down, defeated. The swordsman walks over to Doyen and congratulates him, saying they've finally taken down the first 4 of Tartarus. This guy is Yongwen, the guildmaster and ranks 3rd in the world. His name is Songjin Park, and everyone is celebrating. He says it's a fantastic day since their guild has reached the deepest part of Tartarus, but everyone is pretty worn out. Songjin thanks Doyen, saying it's all because of him. Doyen, feeling emotional, insists he's not that great. Everyone is hugging, promising to stick together forever. Seonjin tells Eren to take it easy on the dragon. Ranked 17th in the world, she says she gets it. The boss acknowledges she wants to gather a lot of mana stones, but it's all good. No need to rush, but she senses something. She gets off the dragon, warning that something is coming in fast. The team stares into the emptiness, knowing they're exhausted and it'll be tough to defend themselves. Sunjin tells everyone to get ready, and Eren says it's almost here. The leader warns that if things get rough, they should run while he tries to hold off the monsters. But the guys are feeling emotional, saying they'll fight with him to the end. He smiles, but Rin warns that it's arriving now. In the distance, they hear an engine and clearly a motorcycle with a helmet is approaching. Seonjin is stunned, wondering what on earth that is. Calmly, Heijin asks if he can pass. Spotting the dragon, he says they're amazing and is glad they're here since the helmet's effect was about to wear off. He looks back and gives a thumbs up, reminding them to be careful because from here on, there are creatures with dark magic, and he speeds off on his scooter. The guild is so confused that no one can find the words. Next up, we're talking about 150 million. If that were in years, you'd be back in the age of dinosaurs, which is pretty close to Korea's total population. Usually you earn about $3 per delivery. So, you'd need to do 50,000 deliveries to hit that amount. But that's exactly what he'd get if he cashed in his points right now. The guy's got a huge grin on his face, right? He's been staring at that number all day. Of course, he was terrified of turning into a pig. There was even a moment when a dog nearly ate him. Plus, he almost got choked by the god of the underworld. Honestly, he went through a lot just to make this money. But now he's laughing. In the end, none of that matters because he made a ton of cash, and the weakest capitalist always wants more, right? He says from now on, but then his stomach growls, and he realizes he should grab a bite, maybe some beer and fried chicken. Meanwhile, Songjin is at a conference. He's wiped out and steps out to chat with the members. Right after that, he's got to talk to the president of the Hunter Association. The guy doesn't get a moment to rest. Dwayne asks if he mentioned the delivery guy at the conference. He says he didn't. He wants to keep it under wraps for now since nobody knows where that guy came from. They should have chased after him and asked some questions, but everyone was too tired and didn't know what to say. Still, everyone in the guild is curious. The blonde mentions he was wearing a weird helmet and ride on a scooter. Maybe it won't be too hard to track him down. But Seonjin tells them not to stress too much since their main goal is to conquer the dungeons, not figure out who the mysterious guy is. He then tells the two they need to craft new weapons, so they'll have to head to the mining dungeon. Doyen tries to complain but has no choice and asks what kind of metal he wants. Seonjun thinks for a second and says it's something called celestial metal. Meanwhile, our hero is munching on some fried chicken. He was really looking forward to it until his phone buzzed. He jumped up, eager not to miss any messages from the gods. He was starving, but in a flash he found himself in the mountains, right in front of Hephaestus' house again. That's when he realizes he left his scooter and helmet behind. While he's thinking about it, someone sneaks up behind him. Suddenly, someone calls out to him, and he turns to see Hephaestus with tears in his eyes. Heijin asks why he's outside instead of inside the house. Crying, Hephaestus says he got kicked out. Heijin is puzzled and asks what he means. He explains that he was having drinks and snacks with his brother Dionysus when someone showed up, called him a deer, and told him to stop drinking. Then they both got kicked out, and she said they shouldn't even think about returning. Dionysus left right away, but the little dwarf was left behind. Heijin says he gets it, but asks what he wants him to bring. Feeling down, Hephaestus has nothing to eat or drink. Since he got kicked out, he hasn't had a bite, he pleaded. But even his sister didn't have any nectar, and now only Heijin can help him. Hajin sort of understands but has no clue what a god eats or drinks. Lying on the ground, Hephaestus says if he could just have some meat and booze, that would be perfect. Heijin pulls out his phone and tells him to hang on. A flash of light happens while the dwarf is on the ground. He sniffs the air until Heijin shows up with the beer and chicken he bought, saying he's glad to share. Heijin admits he has no idea what that is, and our boy explains it's a popular combo in Korea. The sun is shining between the mountains, and the dwarf is over the moon. Daini has never tasted such a refreshing drink in his life. He also thinks the chicken piece is a bit small. But when he takes a bite, it's the best flavor he's ever experienced. Jin wonders if this guy is actually a mythical being. The dwarf promises him a great reward and tells him to check his phone. Just then, it rings, and when he looks, he sees he's earned another 15 zeros and points from Hephaestus. The sneaky guy can't believe he scored 150,000 just for dropping off some chicken. The dwarf even says if he needs anything, just give him a shout. To him, this dwarf is the cutest guy ever, and he just wants to give him a hug. He approaches him warmly when someone comes near. A voice calls out and they both turn around. Jin gets startled. She asks why he's drinking again. What's going on, ma'am? Everyone, meet the goddess of abundance and beauty. The main guy is moved to tears by her looks, saying he's never seen anything so stunning. He can't wrap his head around how she's married to that crying dwarf, and suddenly he drops to his knees. Hephaestus starts to explain that he's only eating there because he got kicked out. She makes an angry face, saying it seems like he's totally right. The dwarf is shocked, and Jin says he better apologize. Then she calls Jin by name and introduces herself as Aphrodite. She's really the goddess of love, bringing loads of happiness. She apologizes, and Jin says it's all good. He's just there because he got hired. Hearing this, the dwarf asks if he can deliver something. He's not sure what to say, and the dwarf thinks he seems like an honest kid. Not feeling too motivated, he says they can count on him since he's the delivery guy for the gods. The dwarf loves this info, but deep down, Jin wants to deliver something for Aphrodite, right? The dwarf tells him to grab some materials he needs for the forge. It's right in his city, and what he needs is also the celestial metal. In a flash, he's on his scooter, wondering if he's at the right spot. Once again, he's in front of a gate, but this time it's for the sewer mines. His heart races as he faces it. He can't believe he's entering another dungeon. As soon as he saw the place, he went to check and realized it was the mines. He told Hephaestus he wasn't up for it, explaining that the last time he entered a dungeon, he nearly died. The dwarf asked why, and he replied that he isn't a hunter and can't fight. He only got through because he had a helmet that kept him hidden, but now it's broken. Hephaestus said to just give it to him, and he'll fix it. Excited, he jumped up and said he's the god of blacksmiths and can repair any legendary item. Jin got pumped, and now he's heading back into the dungeon with a helmet. It's a fixed replica that lasts for 2 minutes and can be used twice. Once again, they go through the gate, but this time there's a fair happening inside, leaving him puzzled. He knew this dungeon was popular, but this is over the top. He thought the monsters would be the issue, but now he realizes he'll have to venture deep to find anything. Meanwhile, Doyon is just chilling and eating. After a 30-minute ride, he finally spots an empty spot. The only downside is the rough terrain, and his scooter is bouncing everywhere. At least he's starting to see some minerals on the walls. But what he really needs is the celestial metal, a shiny red ore. He keeps moving, wondering how far he has to go. As he turns a corner, a giant skeleton walks by. He gets scared but speeds up since he's still invisible. However, he crashes into something. A skeleton notices, but is confused because it can't see anything. The bad news is his scooter is now wrecked. He pauses for a moment and smiles, thinking he can just buy more. He keeps going deeper into the cave until he spots the celestial ore on a pile of rocks. He gets closer, takes off his helmet, and smiles, saying he finally found it. The issue now is how to carry it out. He pulls from one side and kicks from the other, but eventually gives up. What's he going to do now? The system saves him and suggests checking the shop. Maybe there's something useful. As soon as he opens it, he sees a recommended item for 4,700 points. It's a pickaxe for explorers that can mine perfectly, but only once, and it costs a whopping 47,000,000 points. He remembers he can rent a pickaxe at the entrance for 10,000. He leaves, saying he's not spending any money here. The issue is his scooter doesn't look too great. Realizing he might not make it back, he decides to take the chance. He already spent the 4,700 and tossed it in his hand. Now he just needs to charge Hephaestus. Then he strikes the ore with the pickaxe. It magically breaks free from the rock, and the pickaxe crumbles. The ore rolls down the mountain, and he chases after it like a fool. He picks it up, but it's super heavy. After a struggle, he finally gets it on his scooter, wishing he could just head straight to Olympus. That's when a stone ogre pops up behind him. He's helmetless and freaks out. The creature roars, shaking the whole cave. Meanwhile, Hobdoyan is fighting some skeletons in another part of the cave. Hearing the roar, he wonders what's going on. He senses something coming from the dark and gets ready to fight. It's Jin, speeding by and telling him to move. Doyan recognizes him from Tartarus, but the guy just runs past, urging him to flee if he wants to live. He can't even say a word before the guy is gone. Then he hears something behind him. Turning around, the ogre is coming right at him. He bolts, shouting that he wants a ride. The scene shifts to Hyjin, yelling that he almost died again. Hephaestus says he's really good at getting things done fast, but our guy is cursing, saying he should have been warned about the danger. The dwarf looks puzzled, claiming there's nothing there that's life-threatening. Our protagonist tries to explain that the rock was massive too. The dwarf seems confused and says he'll handle it. He brings over the red block, slamming the huge rock down, and asks Hephaestus to check out this massive piece he wanted. The dwarf is stunned and asks what kind of monster that is. They both just stare at each other. Hyjin tells him to quit acting because that's the celestial metal he asked for. Hephaestus tries to clarify that's not what he meant, lifting the stone and saying he's never seen such a large and pure celestial metal. Hyjin looks puzzled by his response. The dwarf tells him to hold on and shows him something. He returns with a small stone, saying that was the biggest piece he had seen until now. He tells Hyjin he's more amazing than he realized and deserves way more than what he's getting paid. He tells Hyjin to take a look. Hyjin is shocked, while the dwarf is super excited about his rock. He was supposed to get 20,000 points for the delivery, but he ended up with an extra 30,000 points because of the stone's size. He's dizzy, having just received $500,000. The dwarf explains he had to pay more because it would be silly to take just a piece and send him back with the rest. Hyjin collapses and thanks him wholeheartedly. The dwarf tells him to get up, but Hyjin says he can't. His legs just want to show their gratitude. The news talks about the earthquake at the Suai mines. Seongjin asks Doyeon if he's really okay. He says he's fine, but warns that the mines will be closed for a bit. Seongjin asks what happened, and he explains that a giant golem showed up, along with that guy from the Tartarus Gate. The weird part is that the golems seem to be after him. Hearing this, Seongjin starts considering recruiting the protagonist. Doyeon says if he wants, he can track him down. He remembers the guy's bike and license plate and has the recordings from the place. The leader thanks him, saying bringing someone like that to the guild would be awesome. He's glad the guy wasn't hurt and says he'll take care of these issues from now on. Beaming, Doyeon thanks him and says he'll follow him to the ends of the earth until Seongjin asks if he got any celestial metal. Then they both go quiet. Hyjin spots 75,000 points on the screen and can't help but grin. With $500,000, he's finally thinking about getting a new place. He's raking in a lot of cash, even for a top-notch hunter. The catch is he knows it's all just luck keeping him alive. He starts to wonder if there's anything useful in the shop. He checks it out, hoping to find something good. As usual, everything's super pricey and pretty useless. The cheapest weapon is $1,000,000. Plus, they're all replicas, so they probably won't last. Maybe he should just give up on fighting monsters. Then he spots a level 1 racing suit that grabs his attention. It boosts physical abilities based on its level, but it costs 50,000 points. He's frustrated that the system doesn't suggest these cool items. The downside is, he has no idea how effective it is, and 50,000 points is a lot. After thinking it over, he decides to buy it as an investment. This way, he can make more deliveries. He makes the purchase, and with a flash of light, the suit appears. There's no going back now. He's down to 25,000 points, but now he's geared up. Wearing it feels a bit odd, but it's like he's not wearing anything at all. Plus, it doesn't seem to heat up. He decides to give it a test run. Meanwhile, Doyeon is feeling hopeless in the city. He's searching for the protagonist, but even with the license plate, he can't find his address. Since the guy hasn't done anything wrong, there's nothing on him with the cops. He's shouting to himself, frustrated about how to track this guy down. Just then, the protagonist stops and tells him the light's green. Doyeon apologizes and steps aside, noting that it seems like everyone rides that same bike, but then he notices something. The scratches match the guy's bike, and it has the same damn license plate. He yells for Hyjin to stop, but he's already speeding away. He tries to chase after him but can't keep up. Spotting a taxi, he hops in and asks the driver to follow that bike. But the driver kicks him out, asking if he thinks this is a movie. So, the guy gets out, leaving him behind. Still, he refuses to give up, saying he'll keep going until the biker stops. After running for a while, he collapses, totally worn out. A woman even checks if he's alright, and he says he is. She mentions recognizing him from a top guild, but he insists she's mistaken. A guild member wouldn't be lying on the ground like this. He has no clue where that pesky delivery guy went. Then a scream grabs everyone's attention. He feels a shiver and decides to creep closer. He scans the area but can't spot the bike anywhere. Still, he has a gut feeling that guy is involved. The older folks warn him to be careful since the echo from the peak could trigger an avalanche. He reassures them, saying he's part of a big guild, and takes off running again. Once again, he's trailing the tired protagonist, wondering where he went, until he glances to the side and notices a rock with a hole in it. He can't believe someone could have done this. Other ranked B hunters could break that rock, but making a perfect crater like this seems impossible. He's convinced it's some sort of magic or divine force. If it's that biker, he has to bring him to the guild, no matter what. Meanwhile, back home, a worn-out Heijin can't believe he made that hole in the rock. Plus, for a few minutes, he was running faster than his bike. Now he's feeling good and ready to take on any dungeon. His phone rings again, but instead of a harp, it plays a Chinese instrument. He checks and sees the location is in Buxiang. Realizing he's not heading to Olympus, and it's probably a dungeon, he looks up dungeons in Buxiang. As he suspected, there's one called Mount Huago. It's a delivery with no time limit, so he's going to wait for his suit to recharge before tackling it. What he doesn't realize is that someone is tailing him. The blonde from the guild was watching him closely. Songjin already knew everything Daeon had shared. He mentioned that if they spread hunters around that area, they'd definitely find him. Songjin said that wasn't possible since they didn't have a picture of the guy, but Daeon told him to chill. He showed him a great sketch he made of the guy on the bike. The leader asked if it was true that the guy looked stronger than he seemed. Daeon talked about the Pierce Rock he saw, which isn't something a regular hunter can pull off. Now they're eager to recruit the protagonist before the Black Dragon Guild gets to him. Even though Youngwon is currently the top guild in Korea, the Black Dragon Guild has been growing a lot lately. They're the kind of guild that does whatever it takes to boost their power. The leader says they can't afford to lose someone like him to a guild like that, especially since they've been acting more suspicious lately. Daeyoon assures him he can handle recruiting this guy. The next day, when Heijin gets to the mountain, he sees a crowd at the entrance, even though he read online that this place wasn't popular. As he gets closer, a guy tells him to stop. Surprised, he realizes the guy is actually talking to a little boy right behind him. He hears people chatting about something related to the Black Dragon Guild. Our protagonist knows that's one of the guilds that likes to control certain gates. But he goes in anyway, since it's not his problem. Once he enters the dungeon, he gets a message saying he's near the delivery spot. He walks a bit further, and his phone says he's right next to it, leaving him confused. Then he glances to the sides and realizes they want him to climb to the mountain's peak. Remembering the stone golem, he feels scared, but now with his suits, he's confident he can take on any creature. He takes off his helmet and gets ready. But then someone calls out to the delivery guy. A face on the ground shouts at him. Heijin is taken aback. It's a monkey's head talking to him. The monkey tells him not to be so frightened. Hasn't he ever talked to a monkey before? He's a bit unsure what to say and asks if the monkey placed the order. The monkey mentions that a kid with a winged hat told him if he wished hard enough, someone would show up to help. Our main guy wonders if that kid is behind all this. The monkey then says he needs Heijin to grab something for him, and the protagonist tells him to just say it. The monkey introduces himself as the Beautiful Monkey King, or the Victorious Buddha. People call him different names, and some refer to him as the Great Sun Wukong. Heijin immediately thinks of Goku and asks why the monkey is stuck down there. Sun Wukong explains he got punished for stealing peaches from the Jade Emperor's tree. He just wanted a taste, but as soon as he touched it, he ended up trapped under the mountain. Heijin says he gets it and asks what Wukong wants him to fetch. Wukong replies it's nothing major, just follow the direction behind him to find a pile of trash. There's a hidden box he wants Heijin to bring back. Heijin thinks about it and spots it 6 miles away. Since it's not too far, he says he'll be back soon and heads off. Meanwhile, the little monkey smirks slyly. In the forest, some adventurers are wondering if Ed is the boss of Mount Huago. There's a huge golem sitting on the ground. A girl walks up and tells them not to be scared. Guys, this is the master of the Black Dragon Guild, and she's really dangerous, with a presence that could rival Aphrodite. Her name is Juha Han. She knows the Yangwon Guild managed to clear the first 4 levels of Tartarus. But if they can take down this 8 trigram boss, they could snag the top guild spot. She orders everyone to attack, and the blonde behind her tells the tanks to move forward. But the guys are hesitating, saying that thing isn't moving, but something feels off. As soon as one steps forward, a crater opens, and the creature starts to rise. The monster is big enough to cast a shadow over the whole team. Its roar makes everyone in the guild shake, saying they can't fight that thing. But the blonde warns that anyone who runs away from the mission will be killed by the guild. The adventurers argue it's impossible to take down such a creature with their lousy weapons. Just then, a redhead yells for everyone to get into combat stance. If they don't focus, they'll get crushed. The group hesitates, but eventually moves in. The blonde asks the redhead if she thinks their plan will actually work. She seems pretty chill about it, saying she has no clue either. Meanwhile, Heijin was cruising on his scooter when an earthquake hit. Even some monsters were bolting from that direction. Spotting the smoke in the distance, he realized things were bad. His suit was still cooling down, but he felt bold and decided to check it out. The adventurers were getting wrecked. One stomp from the golem, and they were wiped out. The backline tried to help, but their arrows barely scratched the monster. The redhead noticed that nothing was working and saw a mage next to the leader, telling her to take action since he was just there to register, not fight. But Ju insisted that if everyone survives, it'll hurt her guild's reputation. The guy was confused, but got knocked out with a punch to the face. She said they were only there to help her take over. With no one able to hear over the chaos, they kept pushing forward. The redhead used a jumping skill to launch at the golem and landed a solid hit on its head. He yelled to everyone that he'd opened a chance for them to attack. With that, the team surrounded the monster. After a lot of effort, it finally went down. The team cheered, saying their attacks were finally working. They all celebrated, thinking they'd make it out alive. But suddenly the golem sprang back to life. Some gears heated up, and it started to rise again. Jahan looked pumped that the boss was entering Phase 2. It now appeared bigger and stronger. From the back, Heijin watched, wondering where the like button was on this video, friends. If this video does well, I'll drop part 2, so hit that cheeky little bell. I'm out. Remember how the last chapter ended with Heijin in the dungeon, where the monkey asked him to grab some junk? As soon as he arrived, he liked the video. Outside, Do Yeonhae mentioned he was in Suwon City yesterday and is now off to Bakshan. The poor guy is worn out from searching for Heijin. At this rate, he'll cover the whole province. When he gets to the entrance of Seonju Mountain, he finds it empty, which throws him off. Then a chubby guy with glasses shows up, calling out to him. Du Yun asks where this chubby guy came from, and the guy tells him to watch his mouth and introduce himself. Du Hyun gives his name and asks what the guy plans to do. Knowing this guy isn't from the association, Dayan figures he must be with the Black Dragons. He brushes past him, telling him to step aside. The chubby guy keeps insisting he can't go in, but Dupion knows he can't stop him, so he just walks in. This makes it clear to Dupion that if they're blocking the entrance, something big is going down. He starts running, thinking he needs to warn everyone since they've given up on this place. The real challenge of the 8 trigrams kicks off when the monster hits its second phase. At that moment, Heijin arrives. Spotting a huge monster with a laser in its belly, he realizes that's the junk the monkey mentioned. Even with his suit, he wasn't sure he could take it down. Shaking, he wondered what he should do next. He noticed a redhead with some guys nearby and instantly recognized them as members of the Black Dragon Guild. The guys trying to bail were being dragged back into the fight, begging to get out. But oddly, the blonde guy jumped onto the monster's chest with the mage. This left Heijin puzzled, questioning what the guy's plan was. The Black Dragon guy started tossing the adventurer into the fiery core. The adventurer pleaded, saying he'd die like this. But the guy shot back that it was his fault for quitting the mission. Then he let the guy go. But Heijin punched him in the face, calling him a bastard. The Black Dragon leader, looking stunning yet baffled, wondered who this guy was. How could someone take down a B-rank adventurer with just one punch? Our hero saved the adventurer like a prince, even cradling him. In his arms, the adventurer thanked him for the rescue but warned it was dangerous to stick around. Heijin looked over. He was stuck between the boss and the whole Black Dragon Guild. Staring at the monster, Heijin realized he could just grab the box and bolt, using the chaos others were causing. But he just couldn't do it. He reassured the guy not to stress. He just couldn't watch someone die for no reason. The Black Dragon leader asked why everyone was frozen, while Heijin thought it was all those idiots' fault. Now it was a total mess. His suit had 2 minutes and 17 seconds left, and he figured he had no choice but to push ahead. The redhead was fuming because she thought they were about to win. The bald guy asked if he should tell the archers to fire, but she said no. She knew they needed enough wood before starting the fight. That was crucial to beating the 8 trigrams. In the middle of switching from phase 1 to 2, the boss goes still. At that point, you just need to deliver some sacrifices to his chest, and it gets a lot easier. Then the bald guy said to look, and Heijin had just jumped, already higher than the boss. From up there, something caught his eye. There looked to be a crack in the head with a message to grab. He figured that was the weak spot and went for a punch, landing it right on the big-headed guy. The leader started shaking, wondering what that fool was up to. At this rate, he'd wake the boss. Because of this, she ordered everyone to stop him. She didn't care if he got hurt, but wanted to halt what he was doing. The crowd shot a bunch of arrows at the boss, and Heijin's suit had 1 minute and 31 seconds left. Punching over his head, he hoped it would break soon. A window popped up, saying danger was detected, and his body seemed to dodge the arrows by itself. He was shocked, wondering why these people were trying to kill him. The bald guy told the leader that this guy was oddly good at dodging. There were arrows even behind him that he dodged without looking, until one hit the boss's eye. At that moment, the boss shook and its eye lit up. The bald guy wondered if they'd need everyone to stop that guy. Then he told the front line to charge. Heijin wondered when the boss would finally stop. It looked like the monster had a wig made of arrows. But then the ground started shaking. The captain's fan dropped as she realized they were in big trouble. The creature's eye lit up, signaling that Phase 2 was done. Heijin started complaining about how hot it was up there, while the people below were shaking. The golem came crashing down, roaring. With one stomp, the whole army was wiped out. The bald guy asked the leader what their plan was, but the master had no clue. She realized there was nothing more they could do. Facing the golem, she knew everyone would turn to ashes. Meanwhile, up above, Heijin kept going, throwing punches at the monster's forehead. The master couldn't believe he was still up there. The issue was his suit only had 10 seconds left. He kept punching, and it dropped to 8 seconds. At 5 seconds, he insisted it needed to break. Only 1 second was left. He threw a punch, blowing the creature's head apart. When the smoke cleared, Do-hyeon had just arrived and was shocked. Seeing the fallen boss, he wondered if the kid really took it down all by himself. Do-hyun felt a connection to Heijin since they had a similar fighting style. But he didn't expect to find that guy here. He ran towards Heijin, saying he needed to recruit him for the guild today. Down below, the Black Dragon Guild members were still alive, and Johan couldn't believe that Loser had taken down the 8 trigrams alone. The bald guy asked for orders, and she said to capture him as soon as the smoke cleared. She was sure that even though he was strong enough to win, he must be worn out now. She couldn't let someone who messed up the Black Dragon's plans escape. But then an explosion went off in front of them. It was Do-yeon who greeted them. Right away, everyone in the guild recognized him as, and he realized he was spot on about them being behind all this. Ju-hae-in figured out their plan was to use the new recruits as bait, and she didn't expect him to show up, so she told everyone to get ready for a fight. She pointed at him, declaring he was their target, and warned them not to let their guard down. Do-yeon felt uneasy with so many people around, and now he wasn't sure he could win. What he wanted to ask was where Heijun was. Then another guild member approached her, saying they had a situation. She asked what was going on. He nervously admitted that the guy in the helmet had vanished. The poor woman and Do-hyun were clueless about what happened, and she yelled in panic. Now he was stuck facing everyone all by himself. He got dragged into this mess unintentionally. Heijin ran off with the helmet because he thought he was done for. He almost ended up in Olympus, and it wasn't because of a delivery. The poor guy questioned why he helped those people when he wasn't even a hunter. He told himself to never make that mistake again. But then something caught his eye. In the distance, he spotted the city near Seongju Mountain. He wondered if the dungeon was fading away since he had just taken down the boss. Dungeons pop up when gates stay incomplete for too long. When that happens, anyone can jump in and take out the boss. But it's really tough to do. Usually, only registered hunters from the association can pull it off. But this time, a guy who was registered as a delivery man ended up clearing the dungeon. The poor guy was hoping this wouldn't lead to trouble, and was confused about how he got mixed up in this. Then he remembered. Back with the monkey, he thought the boy was taking longer than expected. Heijin, in tears, explained that the request was impossible. The monkey told him to quit stalling and tell him what happened. Heijin cursed, saying he had called it just a piece of junk. But when he arrived, it turned out to be a massive ogre that shook the ground with every step. Plus, it had a laser that nearly cooked him. Kong thought that was nuts, and wondered if the 8 trigrams had lost it, pointing out that it was usually a chill creature that only moved when provoked. The main character realized that without the Black Dragon, it would have been a breeze. Now, he was fired up to take them down. How dare those jerks mess with his deliveries? The monkey figured out from what he said that he probably didn't get the box, but Heijin insisted he did. Wukong asked how he pulled it off, and Heijin replied that he blew the monster's head off and brought the box to him, asking what was up. The monkey laughed and went wild, saying he was amazing. Even though he took down that creature in the sky, the monster on the ground could still wipe out any human. He asked for the protagonist's name, who said he was the monkey, and shook his hand, saying he met Heijin Lee today. Suddenly, something exploded out of the box. As an explosion went off, and something shot out. When he opened his eyes, the monkey was holding the staff, saying he owed him one now. If it weren't for the boy, he'd have been stuck there for years. Heijin recognized it as the golden staff. Wukong whistled, and a cloud appeared under him. He warned Heijin to get out before the Jade Emperor showed up. Then he took off, saying they'd meet again someday. Heijin felt down, saying he didn't care about the guy running away or getting paid, but then a sack landed on his face. Wukong said he wasn't cheap, and the payment was already sorted. What was in that sack was just a little extra for his effort. Heijin asked what it was, but the monkey was already gone. A golden light was shining from the sack. He opened it, curious if it was really just a bonus. Later at home, Heijin was watching the news. They were reporting on various accusations against the Black Dragon Guild. He felt relieved knowing those jerks were finally exposed for what they did. The guy he saved said that no one went there expecting to face the boss. The reporter asked about the person in the helmet who saved everyone. With a grin, he mentioned that the guy showed up just before he was about to get burned, and he took down all 8 trigrams by himself. He knew they wouldn't have made it without that kid. Heijin smiled, realizing his efforts paid off after all. He thought he might have done something wild, or maybe he just lunged forward out of nowhere. But everything worked out, and his identity stayed hidden. The best part? He got paid, bringing his total to 95,300 points. He made 70,000 just from that delivery. Still, the greedy side of him felt he deserved more because of that boss. But he was okay with it. After all, if he cashed it in, that would be $700 for one delivery. He could snag an awesome apartment, plus he got a gift he never expected, a strand of hair from the legendary Wukong. If you hold it in your hand and blow, you can call forth a clone of the King Wukong himself. Heijin was pumped looking at it because it would really help him out. He had been dealing with a lot lately. Weird creatures kept popping up. Even if it was just a clone, it was still the great Wukong. Check out this hilarious face he makes when mimicking a monkey. For him, it was like having an extra life. Right then, he got another delivery request. He threw on his jacket, put on his helmet, and was ready for the next one. Meanwhile, in a hospital, a guy was sprinting down the hallway. It was the guild leader shouting for Duyun. The guy looked like he had been beat up by the guild and was in rough shape. Duyun asked why the leader was there. He was supposed to be in Busan today. The leader said he had sorted it out and couldn't just stay away. After all, it was partly his fault Duyun was in this mess. Duyun responded that it wasn't the leader's fault. He misread the situation and got involved when he shouldn't have. He needed to be more careful with those Black Dragon jerks. Songjin was furious that those jerks had the guts to attack Sona from his guild. He should have sent Aran with Duyun, but he vowed next time he'd take them down himself. He then checked in with Duyun to see how he was feeling. Goyen revealed that the doctors weren't optimistic. Songjin was stunned and asked if that meant his hunting days were over, but the kid was just messing around, saying he totally tricked him. His arm was only slightly broken, and he'd be back to normal soon. He started laughing at the leader, asking if he really thought he'd retire over that. Songjun pinched his cheek, saying today was a good day for the kid to hang it up. But he shot back that he'd stick with the leader forever. Later on, the leader asked if it was true the boy took down the 8 trigrams by himself. Duhayan said he saw it firsthand, the guy smashing the monster's head with a punch. As a martial artist, he found it inspiring to see the guy win without any weapons. Kyo Hyun then asked if the team sent to find the boy had any luck, but Songjun said sadly they hadn't found anything. They saw on some cameras that he went into an alley. After that, he vanished. Meanwhile, Hage was sneezing in the sky, thinking it was way too cold up there. A bit later, he was at Hephaestus's place, where it was super hot. He opened the door and greeted his friend, who was too focused to notice. He sat down, thinking it was best to wait for the guy to finish up. But now, in the warm room, he was starting to feel a bit drowsy. The heat reminded him of something familiar. It felt like he was back in his mother's embrace. But Hephaestus woke him up, asking how the kid got there and giving him a big hug. He was startled and asked when that pesky dwarf showed up. Hephaestus said the boy looked really tired today, but the delivery he needed was quite a distance away. Could the boy handle it? Hajin thought it over. After all, the kid knew that the farther he went, the more he'd get paid, and he said he was ready to walk halfway around the world if the price was right. Hephaestus grinned, saying it was great to rely on the kid. He pulled out a staff and explained this was the delivery, made from the stuff Hyjin had brought, but it needed to go out today. Hyjin quickly said he'd have to start running right away. He checked out the design and asked where Hephaestus wanted it sent. Hephaestus replied it was headed for a pyramid. Hyjin was taken aback, saying it'd be easier to send it by plane. Plus, pyramids aren't even part of Greek mythology. With a wink, Hephaestus mentioned he had clients outside Olympus. Hyjin was annoyed but took off, saying he'd figure it out in a few hours. Suddenly, Hephaestus told him to hold on because he forgot to mention something. The client was a bit unusual, so he had set up an assistant for Hyjin. The kid was puzzled, wondering why he needed help for a delivery. Just then, someone greeted him, saying they were sent by Cupid, and introduced themselves as Lucio. Despite the name, Hyjin thought Lucio was a woman. He decided not to dwell on it and sped off on his scooter. The best part was realizing it wouldn't take long since Egypt was actually up in the skies. At least there, traffic wasn't an issue. But out of nowhere, Lucio yelled that she had been tricked. She thought she was here to help Hephaestus, not ride on some random human. She kept kicking Hyjin in the head, and he was getting fed up, thinking this mission was going to be tougher than he expected. He remarked that for a tiny fairy, she was really annoying. She shot back that she was actually pretty big for a nymph. An hour ago, when she introduced herself, she said it was an honor to serve Hephaestus. Hyjin didn't seem keen on having her along, but Hephaestus knew he'd need her. The kid turned to the dwarf and asked if he really couldn't go solo. Lucio got mad, telling him to show her some respect. Meanwhile, Hephaestus explained it wasn't that he didn't trust Hyjin. It's just that he didn't know much about their destination, while Lucio was very familiar with it. That's why having her around would be helpful and not a hindrance at all. But back on the scooter, she was just picking her nose, saying she didn't want to help this kid. Wondering why she had to ride on a human scooter, she kept kicking his head, asking how much longer it would take. He ignored her, and she kept yelling at him to answer. He finally told her that if she stayed quiet, he'd tell Hephaestus she was perfect and didn't cause any trouble. For Lucio, not being able to help would hurt her reputation. She had studied her whole life, and being a fairy was seen as almost divine. She didn't want to accept that and complained to him. Then a sweet fell into her mouth, surprising her, and she asked what he did. Heijin said she wouldn't stop talking, so he gave her a sweet to quiet her down. If she stayed quiet for the rest of the ride, he promised more. For Lucio, who had never had a sweet, it tasted like heavenly food. She warned him not to be lying, and he assured her he always kept his promises. Hyjin figured the best way to deal with a kid was to give them candy. Now that she was quiet, they only had 800 meters left to go. He enjoyed a moment of peace until he spotted two eyes in the fog. He slowed down, but now they were both surrounded by thick mist. He asked Lucia why she didn't warn him about the danger. She replied it was his fault for giving her candy to keep her quiet. With that, he stopped the scooter and pulled her off, even as she struggled and told him to look. Behind them was a giant sphinx. It told them they had to solve a riddle to pass. Lucio explained that this sphinx was dangerous because it ate those who got the riddle wrong. The sphinx was linked to Safan, who almost wiped out Olympus. It wasn't as powerful as a legendary beast, but Hyjin wasn't that strong either. Knowing the creature's size, he realized his attacks would be pointless. Then suddenly his phone rang, and the rascal hoped he'd get paid well for this. He walked toward it. Lucio asked what he was doing, and Hyjin said he was doing the obvious. He was going to solve the riddle. She tried to stop him, saying it was crazy, because he could die if he got it wrong. But Hyjin was sure he knew what the Sphinx's question would be, since the riddle was common. Worst case, he could use a strand of Wukong's hair. The Sphinx faced him and asked if he was ready. Hyjin told it to go for it since he was in a hurry and just there to deliver something. Meanwhile, Lucia was crying, upset that the guy actually agreed. The Sphinx grinned and told them to get ready. Hyjin figured the riddle would be about something that crawls on 4 legs in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 3 in the evening. But this old dude looked strong, claiming he didn't even need a cane. Heijun felt sure since he had seen this riddle before. Then the Sphinx asked what sound a duck makes when it falls. Mauni looked completely clueless while the Sphinx watched him. He wondered what kind of silly duck question this was. Lucia started to think and was convinced a duck goes quack. But then she started to cry, saying she had no clue what the sound was when they get hurt. Being watched in a sphere, she really didn't want to be eaten alive. A woman in Egyptian attire was observing the orb and commented that these two seemed like interesting visitors. The Sphinx looked at them again, demanding the name of the sound a duck makes when it falls. Hyjin was stumped. What kind of ridiculous joke was this? Then he remembered he was up against a Sphinx. Maybe there was some wordplay going on. With a gleam, the Sphinx said he had 3 minutes to respond. Meanwhile, Lucio, in despair, was crying, saying it was impossible to figure out. Even she, a smart one, had no idea. And she was getting mad at Heijin because she felt like she was going to be eaten because of him. She remembered a chat with her teacher about how tough Sphinx riddles were. He told her that before the first person solved one, 100 had been eaten. Lucio asked if that meant it was impossible to solve, and he replied that not even Jim got it right, warning her to run for her life if she ever met a Sphinx. Now she was crying, saying she knew things would go south. Then Hyjin turned around and said the sound a duck makes when it falls is quacksidon, a mix of quack and accident. Lucio just froze up and asked what that was all about. Wasting their only chips was such a dumb move. The Sphinx smiled and confirmed he was right. She angrily questioned how that silly answer could be correct. Hyjin thought it was obviously a joke, but that's how it always goes. The Sphinx complimented him for solving the riddle and said he earned the right to pass. Before she could finish, he told her to be quiet, saying he figured this out, so she needed to move aside. The Sphinx stood there confused by his aggression. Then he told her to come up with a better riddle because that one was trash. The poor Sphinx just stood there in tears. He turned around and asked if she was really crying. She replied no. She just had a bit of sand in her eye. Lucio was still shocked he got it right when Heijin told her to hang on because he was about to speed up. A little while later, they seemed to have entered a passage, and Lucio called out to her a bit nervously. He asked what was up, and she said she wanted to apologize for what she said before. She said she was there to help him, but in the end, she just put him down for being human. She didn't deserve to call herself a mega elite. Hyjin replied that she didn't mean to be so hard on herself. Compared to the harsh things he'd heard before, this was nothing. To him, it felt like the annoying chatter of a younger cousin, so it didn't bother him. Lucio seemed a bit shy and thanked Hyjin. After a bit, they stood in front of the pyramid, amazed by its size, and even Lucio couldn't see the top. Hyjin looked around. According to the map, they were in the right spot. Then she pointed out something written nearby. They walked up to a box with Egyptian writing, and she explained it said to ring the doorbell. He was impressed she could read hieroglyphs, and she said she was an elite after all. So I pressed the button, and everything started shaking. They both wondered what was going on, and she said it was gravitational magic. They were puzzled since they had just been told to ring the bell. Out of nowhere, the ground split open, and they began to fall into a pit. After a bit, he found himself on the ground, shocked he survived such a big fall. But he had landed on Lucio, who looked like she was about to pass out. He asked if she was dead, and she snapped back that, sadly, she was still alive. In the next moment, they were walking through the corridors of the pyramids. Hyjin thought this felt more like dungeon crawling than delivering something. Then Lucio spotted something and told him to stop. He wondered if there was a trap. She instructed him to point that shiny thing at the wall so she could see what it said. Looking at the hieroglyphs, he asked what they meant, and why the painting showed people with a giant. Lucio seemed frightened, and he asked if she found something. She mentioned hearing about a wicked goddess who enjoyed tormenting nymphs. She believed these images were warnings from her ancestors about the brutal attacks that happened here. But to Hyjin, the pictures didn't look violent. It seemed more like a festival in a field. But now she was fired up, saying she would get revenge for her ancestors because this was a rare chance. Hyjin told her to hush since the person there was their client. Then a mysterious leg appeared, asking what this talk of revenge was all about. They turned around as she questioned why they had barged into a woman's home. Sparkling and looking like Cleopatra, she said they were quite rude. Shining brighter than 1,000 lights, she asked who among them was after revenge. Hyjin obviously couldn't see anything, but Lucio, determined, flew toward her, claiming she was avenging her ancestors. The protagonist told her to chill and asked what she was thinking. Meanwhile, the Egyptian woman smiled and asked if she was a nymph, saying it had been ages since she'd seen one, then hugged her, calling her a very cute girl. While being hugged, she told the enemy to let go. Hyjin stood there, totally confused about what was happening. After a bit, the woman explained that, long ago, there were festivals for nymphs there, and the younger ones were always so adorable. It was just sad they weren't around anymore. Hyjin mentioned he understood how they all passed away. Looks like she hugged them to death, and Lucio was feeling the pain. The woman let go, saying she couldn't help it when she saw something so cute. While Lucio was crying, saying she almost died, she asked Hyjin why he didn't step in. He just told her to chill out. They started bickering, with her saying he claimed it was like having a cousin. So how could anyone just let family die? The woman cut in, saying she'd introduce herself. She ruled over the 2 brightest lands. She was the divine reincarnation of the mighty Horus, a pharaoh. But the two kept arguing and ignored her. While they were at it, Hyjin asked what this pharaoh stuff was about. Wasn't it usually the king of Egypt? Lucia said he didn't get it and that there were 2 kinds of gods. There were those like Cupid or Hephaestus, born as gods, and those who became divine like the old lady in front of them. The pharaoh asked why she was called old, and Hyjin said he wanted to chat because he had something to deliver. She said she knew all about it since she had been watching his whole journey. Just then, the package started moving and flew into her hand. Looking at the item, she said it was top-notch. It was clearly crafted by a skilled artisan, and the design was spot on. She then said that the delivery guy, Hyjin, really lived up to his name. Now the poor guy was puzzled, wondering when he got a reputation. But with the delivery wrapped up, he thanked her, and said if she wanted to give a tip, she could just send it to his account. Lucio said it was embarrassing to work with someone so greedy, and asked if he had no self-respect. Hyjin replied that respect doesn't pay the bills. It was with that money she didn't want that he bought the candy she liked. She got all excited and said to make sure a nice deposit went into the account. The pharaoh said their friendship was great and assured them not to worry about the payment. In the end, she was a generous goddess. He ended up getting $50,000 for the delivery and another $50,000 as a bonus. Right now, he had 195,000 points, which meant he was sitting on a cool $19,000. Lucio said she helped out, so he should definitely give her some candy. He reassured her that she'd get a whole store. She got really pumped, claiming she'd take 90% of the profits, which made him a bit awkward. But Warren told them to skip that tunnel next time and just use the main entrance. Even though she had good memories of that spot, it didn't make sense to get deliveries in the basement. Lucio pointed out that the sign said to ring the doorbell if there were no guards. The pharaoh explained there hadn't been guards for ages, and they should have just knocked on the front door. Basically, they should have ignored the doorbell and taken the stairs. With that, the delivery was done, and he was back at Hephaestus's place. He was tired, but hey, at least he made it back safe. He nudged Lucio awake since she was drooling on his hand. "What's going on, kid?" She woke up, asking if they were back already, and he confirmed they were. That's when she noticed they were right in front of Hephaestus's house. She then called him on the radio, thanking him for the fun day. He asked why she suddenly changed her tune. Then it hit him that the delivery was really done. Time to say goodbye. Smiling, he said it was awesome having her around, even if she talked a lot. She told him to be quiet and not spoil the moment, and he replied he was just being honest. As they entered the shop, they both agreed they never wanted to work together again. But Haijin didn't expect them to get along so well. At that moment, Hefei showed up mentioning that the client praised them a lot, like he was considering if they could team up again. The two exchanged glances, thinking about it. Then they bumped heads, saying they'd only do it if everyone liked the video. And remember, the last chapter ended with him and Lucy clashing, both saying they didn't want to work together. In the next scene, our guy is sound asleep in his room when someone calls his name. When he wakes up, it's Lucio shaking him, telling him to get up already. He jolts awake, yelling about what she's doing there, but she just covers her ears and asks why he's yelling at poor Lucio. Then she reminds him that they're partners now. That's when he recalls that Hephaestus cried when he refused, saying it was the first time he asked a favor from his own kid. So he ended up agreeing. The issue is, he didn't just become her partner. Now he has to deal with this headache. He asks her why she woke him up like that when he was sleeping so well. Lucio says the noise wouldn't stop. He's puzzled until he checks his phone and sees it's a delivery from Manjok. He doesn't know what Manjok is, but he sees a flood of orders coming in one after another. That's when he looks closer and figures it out. A ton of regular Chinese food deliveries are flooding in all over the city. The poor guy, who used to make a fortune, is now only getting $510. That's when he remembers it's been a week since all this craziness started. Back when that woman had her last delivery, while on the toilet. Lucio asks if everything's alright, but he tells her not to worry. But she's really persistent and grabs his shirt, insisting he explain what's going on because she wants to get it. Just then, he gets a phone call. He gets anxious when he sees it's his manager calling, but honestly, I'd just answer and tell the guy off. As soon as he picks up, the manager starts yelling, asking if he sees all the incoming orders, and if he's just slacking. That's when we learn Mandrock is the name of the delivery company he used to work for. The boss says he was already nice by lifting his suspension after just a week, but it seems the jerk still hasn't learned his lesson. He needs to start working right away, or he's getting fired. But Ha-Jun Lee just switches to Saiyan mode and tells him to fire him if he wants. He doesn't care anymore. The boss asks if he's lost it, but the kid keeps up his Dragon Ball vibe, asking what the boss will do about it. Lucio even pulls out a power level meter, saying the jerk's already over 40,000, and suddenly, the meter breaks. The boss asks if he really thinks he'll find another job. If he gets blacklisted, it's game over for him. Hae-Jin Lee just says he doesn't care anymore. This attitude is exactly why the boss is going bald. The guy tries to say something else, but our dude hangs up on him. Now the loser is left there crying, whining about how the jerk had to bring up his baldness. Lucio then checks in, asking if he's really okay. He turns to her with a grin and says he's all good. It's time for them to grab a bite. Meanwhile, at the guild, Seonjun is stressing out because no one can find that guy. Suojong, the one with red hair, says they searched every street he mentioned, but nobody matching his description was around. He thinks the guy knows he's being hunted and is hiding on purpose. Seonjun just thanks him, saying he gets it. He's already got enough on his plate, and now this mysterious guy is giving him a headache. The guy asks if they should keep looking, but he says no. It's not worth wasting more people on this. He then asks about the situation in Busan, and the guy replies that things aren't looking good there either. The team of 6 hunters sent over came back without sealing the gate, so in 5 days that place will turn into a full-blown dungeon. Songjun just nods, saying he understands. A month ago, a portal appeared in the Hongda building. When the association asked them to handle it, he figured it wouldn't be easy, but he never thought 6 hunters would struggle with it. Still, he suddenly smiles, saying this could actually work out perfectly. He tells Sugo to let the rest of the team know they're getting ready to move out. Looking outside, he says he'll show everyone again why his guild is the best in the country. Meanwhile, Huazhong is enjoying a spicy cup of instant noodles, saying it's delicious. It would have been perfect to see the manager's face when he called him bald and hung up. Lucio, sitting across from him, says they have a serious issue. She's never tasted anything this good before, and now wants a lot more. He warns her not to mess up her clothes, but she keeps raving about how amazing this soft, spicy stuff is. The human world has way better food. Damn, the guy thinks she really hasn't had much fun in life, huh? Then he tells her it's just a cup of noodles. People nearby are saying it's pretty rough if she's never had instant noodles before. With her age and his look, folks probably think he's a young dad who had a kid too soon and is now stuck in this mess. He didn't realize that's how people see him now. Later, outside, Lucio is full, and he wipes her face, reminding her he told her not to eat so much. Yeah, that's when he starts to see this feels more like he's got a daughter than a partner in this mission. He hears people around him saying it's sad to see such a young guy raising a daughter alone. Clearly, this apartment isn't cutting it for him. He realizes the whole neighborhood is judging him now, but if Lucio is going to be around every day, maybe he really does need a bigger place. He thinks moving might be a smart move, and she gets excited, saying it'd be awesome to have a bigger place than his tiny fish tank. She suggests if they move, it should at least be that huge castle. She's clearly pointing at a giant, super fancy building. He pinches her cheeks, telling her she has no clue how much a place like that costs. With her cheeks puffed up, she asks what happened to the money he made from the pyramid. That's when he remembers he actually has over $1 million in points, so it's not out of reach. Maybe it really is time for him to get his own place. Lucio is already thrilled, saying the place is massive. Hold on, is our little delivery guy actually getting a luxury apartment? Plus, it's new, so it's super nice even by today's standards. He asks the guy for details, and the guy says they could move in about 2 weeks. The guy is explaining everything, but Hae-jun Lee just says it's cool, he likes it because it looks nice. Still, he wants to check out some other spots. I mean, it doesn't make sense to buy the first one you see. He calls for Lucio, saying they're going to look at more places, but she asks why not just stay there. He picks her up and says he hasn't made up his mind yet, so they're leaving. That's when he glances to the side and thinks he recognizes a girl. Is it just me? Or is this the first woman we've seen besides the hunters? A bit later, Lucio is once again chowing down on instant noodles, saying they're delicious. She looks at our boy and asks why he isn't eating anything. He's just staring at the papers, mumbling about how he snagged a house after just 1 day of looking. Now that's what I call living the high life. After chatting with that guy, they checked out a few more spots, but in the end, he chose the first one. Since it was brand new, he got a pretty good deal. But now, the only thing on his mind is that girl he spotted when he left the apartment. Forget what I said earlier. He just remembered he saw her at the Tartaros gate, so she's a hunter too. He figures that since the helmet was covering half his face, she probably didn't recognize him. But there's something more pressing right now. Why aren't any delivery orders coming in? Lucio mentions they did one recently, but he reminds her that was 2 days ago. She argues that 2 days isn't a big deal, but he's used to at least 1 delivery a day. She tells him to stop expecting things to always be that way. Greed never leads to anything good. Besides, he should have made a decent amount of cash. Hae-jun Lee admits that, yeah, he did until yesterday. Before buying the place, he had about 19 mils and thousand, but just the down payment for this apartment was 12,000. If he starts adding up the payments plus furniture and living costs for both of them, he realizes he spent way too much. Lucio is stunned, saying that with the money he got from the pharaoh, he could have bought a castle in the divine realm. He just says he can't help it. Real estate in Central Korea is that pricey. She asks what they're going to do, and he says that when you're low on cash, you save. So no treats for her for a while. Her face changes right away, and she says she'll have to come up with something, no matter how serious it is. Then she gets an idea and asks why he doesn't try door-to-door advertising. There's no rule against them finding work on their own. They could go straight to Hephaestus and ask which gods might need their help. He messes up her hair, saying that, wow, she's actually clever. The issue is, how are they supposed to get to Olympus? She says since he always goes, it should be fine, but he explains that when he accepts a delivery, he gets teleported right away. Poor thing, she looks totally let down. The scene then shifts to a helicopter, where teams 1 and 2 of the Yangwon Guild are arriving. 45 hunters showed up. Aaron Barrick, the guild's second-in-command and our boy's neighbor, was among them. Of course, Songjun was there too. He reminds everyone that today, they're off to check out the new gate that just popped up. It's time to put past failures behind them and show off their guild's strength again. Everyone pumps their fists, cheering with excitement. Then he calls for Aaron and the helicopter lifts off. Inside, he asks if it's true that the motorcycle guy moved in next door. Wow, this girl has an amazing memory and says yes. She's not totally sure, but it seems like it. The poor guild leader is crushed. After spending 1 billion resources looking for that guy, he just moved in next to her. He asks if she's really sure, And she confirms. Wow, this girl is sharp. At least now, Team 1 knows it'll be easy to track him down. So now, the main goal is to deal with Isgate. Meanwhile, Eren thinks this must be the person who took on the 8 trigrams solo. Is she really excited about fighting him someday? Come on, girl. I want to see some romance. Not this wild battle obsession. Back at Hephaestus' forge, our boy shows up. But sadly, it seems he didn't come to work this time. The lights are even off. Lucio's is panicking, saying they should get out of there before they get in trouble for trespassing. Our boy says there's no need, especially since she's the one who showed him how to get here. Still, Lucio insists they're being super rude by barging into someone's place when they're not around. He realizes she's being a total hypocrite since she called the forge an old hag, which is way worse. That's when someone steps on his back and demands to know who dares to trespass on his property this early. Of course, it's just Hephaestus, and our boy greets him. The god immediately says he doesn't recall asking for any delivery, so why is he here? Our boy, being all cute, says he's just here to ask for a small favor. The dwarf asks what he's got, and our boy explains that he didn't want to show up empty-handed, so he brought something cool. The god wants to know what it is, and our boy proudly shows off a fresh bottle of soju. He remembers how much Hephaestus liked the beer last time, so he thought he'd bring something new. The god acts like he doesn't care, but quickly tells him to just get to the point. He's on board. Haijin Lee then asks if he knows any gods or goddesses who might want a delivery service. The little dwarf thinks for a moment and mentions a few names, but warns that the deliveries he knows about are super risky. But Haijin Lee is pumped and says no matter what, he'll handle it. To him, nothing's scarier than being broke. Hephaestus then says if the kid thinks he's ready, he'll teleport him now. With a flash of blue light, Haijin Lee tries to ask which god it is, but it's too late. He's already been sent off. In a split second, he finds himself in a thick forest, totally lost. How is he supposed to do the job when the old man didn't give him any details? That's when the system suddenly pings him. Danger detected. As soon as Haijin Lee turns, he spots a glowing red eye staring right at him. A huge three-eyed demon boar is charging right at him. Haijin Lee braces himself, knowing he can't dodge in time, until someone hidden in the bushes shoots an arrow, hitting the beast square in the head and sending it crashing down. Our boy spins around, asking what just happened and if that thing is really dead. That's when a familiar blue globe pops out of the bushes, all cheerful, saying, "Wow, that was close. Almost turned you into a human rug." He's shocked. He didn't even know she followed him. Lucia replies that the moment he disappeared, she teleported right after him. It was a close call, but she's impressed he took down such a beast, one of the most feared creatures around. That's when Haijin Lee, still trembling, says he wasn't the one who did it. Then someone behind them says, "That would be me." He hadn't noticed there were other creatures in this area besides the wild boar. I have no clue why this old guy is flexing his abs, but Haijin Lee thinks he's pretty strange, just like us. Guy mentions how he's surprised to see a human and a nymph here. Our guy is just staring because the top half is human, but the bottom is all horse. Just then, his phone buzzes with a notification that he's reached his destination. Whoever this wild old dude is, he's their client for today. The old man says that not many people make it to this spot and asks who they are. Lucio spots the centaur limping and calls our guy over, saying she thinks she knows him. It's Jason, the leader of the Argonauts. Achilles, the Trojan war hero and the top warrior who led Olympus to beat the giants, and Hercules. All three were trained by him. He's Chiron, the mentor of the greatest heroes. The guy quickly pulls out his bow, aiming it at them, asking if she really had the nerve to say Hercules' name in front of him. He's got an arrow ready, questioning if they know how much pain that idea caused him. Haijin Lee tries to explain they aren't here because of Hercules. They were sent by Hephaestus. That seems to chill Chiron out for a bit, but suddenly he shoots a bunch of arrows at them, shouting that they must think he's an idiot. Luckily, our guy's enchanted gear helps him dodge, but the whole forest gets wrecked. Later, inside Chiron's house, they're sitting on the floor, and he finally explains how they got there. Chiron finds it intriguing. He knows Hephaestus wouldn't just drop his name casually. The issue is, no matter how he looks at this kid, nothing about him screams hero. But then again, he's with a nymph. Even the most famous heroes rarely had an ally like that. Meanwhile, Haijin Lee asks Lucio why this guy won't believe them after they've explained everything. Lucio replies she has no idea. She heard this guy was supposed to be kind-hearted. That's when Chiron makes up his mind. He's going to believe them. They celebrate, feeling relieved. Then he asks if it's true they can retrieve anything. Our guy says pretty much anything, and with that, Charon decides to give him a shot. He grabs an empty jar and mentions that if he goes north, there's a huge lake. He's supposed to head there and grab some spit from the idiot that lives in that area. Our guy takes the jar but gets a bit freaked out by the word spit. Wait, does this guy really want him to fill this thing with spit from something? Chiron confirms that's exactly what he wants and asks if the kid has a problem with it. Hae-jin Lee thinks this is a pretty weird invasion of privacy, but brushes it off, saying they'll get it done fast. Of course, he's not going to pass up a chance to make some cash. Chiron watches, thinking the kid's an idiot for heading to that place, without worrying about the dangers there. But at the same time, it's a perfect way to see if he can be trusted. If he pulls this off, the next mission will be the Frozen Mountain, which is a crazy challenge for humans. But he's sure the kid won't even make it to the cave. That's when Hae-jun Lee activates his suit and takes off into the sky. Chiron just stands there looking silly as our guy flies off with Lucio in his arms. After using the suit so much, he's getting used to it and can keep his speed to reach the cave in one shot. The climb is quick, and in just a few seconds, he's right in front of the cave. He turns off the suit, saving 32 seconds of flight time. Lucio, on the other hand, is totally dizzy and about to hurl. As they step inside, Hae-jin Lee says now that they're here, it's time to get that spit. The issue? They walk and walk, but there's nothing around. He notices Lucio is sweating cold, and he starts to worry. Lucio, all shaky, insists she's a top-tier elite warrior and would never be scared. But suddenly, they hear the sound of a single drop of liquid falling. Lucio screams in fear. Hae-jin Lee tells her to chill out, it's just a drop. It's not like they're about to run into a monster right now. And that's when he feels something move nearby. He turns and sees a gigantic 36-headed serpent. It's probably the legendary Hydra. The good news is, tracking down the source of saliva shouldn't be tough. The bad news? That thing is incredibly strong. Back at Chiron's place, he's wondering where that kid disappeared to. He figured the kid was just an ordinary mortal who couldn't possibly have those kinds of skills. But even with that trick, there's no way he could climb the mountain this quickly. That's when he spots the crater where the boy launched himself. He uses a skill to confirm the kid actually made it to the cave. He gets ready to jump there himself, but his hurt leg slows him down. Still, he manages to leap, thinking it'd be wild if the kid really went inside. After all, that cave is home to a deadly monster. Meanwhile, Hae-jun Lee is smiling politely. Or not really. He knows his odds of survival are pretty slim. A moment later, he's running for his life with Lucio in his arms, cursing Chiron for putting them in this mess. Soon after, the Hydra is searching the area for him. He's hiding behind a rock, whispering that they just need to wait until it does off. But Lucio is trembling and says she knows all about this scary serpent. The creature in front of them is a Hydra. She asks why they even took this job from Chiron. He claims it's not his fault, acting like he would have agreed if he knew this was the monster. A damn centaur tricked him with how he phrased it. If only he had his helmet, they'd have a shot. But right now, he's totally trapped. That's when a notification pops up. In emergencies, you can use the teleport service. It's not a teleport for him. Instead, he can spend 5,000 points to send items from the shop to where he is. The catch? 5,000 coins cost $35,000. He snagged that helmet replica for just 800. This is straight up robbery. But he doesn't really have a choice. His life is worth more than that. So he grits his teeth and spends the 5,000 coins. The helmet pops into his hand. Lucio is shocked, asking how it just showed up. Hae-jin Lee sighs and says what disappeared was my cash. He puts on the cursed helmet and says, "All right, Hydra, let's do this." He walks straight toward it. Lucio panics, asking if he's lost it. She warns him the exit is the other way. He says he knows, but he's got this. Lucio freaks out, saying that thing is no joke, it's a real monster. The Hydra is a god's child, and its venom is so lethal that even the gods of Olympus are scared. Our guy says this so-called typhoon, her dad, must have had some wild times to end up with such an ugly daughter. She tells him to cut the jokes and warns that the Hydra is way tougher than the Sphinx. But he tells her to chill and wait at the entrance, promising her it'll be fine. Lucio gets angry and storms off, saying she hopes the Hydra's venom fries his skin. The poor guy thinks she really didn't need to curse him like that, but now he has to face this beast. With the effect on, he walks toward it. It looked like it was asleep, even with its eyes open, as venom dripped from its mouth. He opens the container and gets ready to collect it. When he sees the venom hit the ground and melt everything, he realizes it could destroy anything. He doesn't get why Chiron wants this, but it should be enough. With that giant monster right in front of him, he better get paid well for this. Suddenly, the whole cave starts shaking. The ceiling looks like it's about to cave in, and he has no clue what's going on. An earthquake is rocking the cave, and the worst part? He dropped the container. Yep, now he's in deep trouble. His hand's right on the Hydra's eye, and he's panicking about how to steal saliva. The monster seems to be glaring at him, and he lets out a scream. But it's more like a scream in his head. He doesn't say anything out loud. Instead, he covers his mouth, reminding himself to stay cool as long as he's got the helmet on. No need to freak out. That's when someone asks what's happening. A voice says it can smell the rotting flesh of spirits from the underworld. It hasn't smelled that in ages and wants to know if the boy was sent by Tartarus. Heijin quickly realizes he's been tracked by scent. The voice tells him not to be scared, saying it knows he's wearing Hades' helmet, which keeps him hidden. Arbois sees there's no use pretending anymore, and then the voice asks why he came to find her. Cold sweat running down him, Heijin knows he can't admit he's here to steal saliva. The snakes keep asking why he's there, and one of the bigger heads says it looks like he was sent by Hayes. They start bickering, and then the voice demands to know why the boy isn't saying anything. It better not be. He didn't come all this way just to wake her up for nothing. That's when he thinks on his feet and says he's just here to check on her. He takes off the helmet and claims he came from Tartarus to see how she's doing. The girl looks surprised by this. She then says it seems like Cerberus must have sent him. Heijin quickly agrees, saying, "Yep, that's right." All awkward, he stutters that Cerberus wanted him to say he hasn't seen her in a while and was curious about her. The Hydra responds that she never thought that jerk would actually care about his older sister. After over 1,000 years of silence, she never expected this day to come. That's when Heijin freezes. Guys, the Hydra is a seriously dangerous creature with some crazy powers. Stay sharp. Meanwhile, outside, Lucio is fuming and tearing up in frustration. No matter what Heijin tries, he can't beat the Hydra, so she needs to head down the mountain for help. On her way down, she bumps into Chiron, who asks why she's by herself. She quickly tells him that Heijin is up against the Hydra. Chiron facepalms, saying he never thought the kid would actually go into the cave. She asks for help, but he says that even he, a divine being, stands no chance against it. She demands to know what they'll do, while Churn thinks he should have just sent the kid home instead of testing him. He sighs and asks her to show him the way. She questions if he's sure, and he responds that he won't let the boy die because of him. Meanwhile, in the cave, Heijin is stunned. He never thought the Hydra could take on a human form. The Hydra says she can tell he's surprised by her look. She explains she hasn't been able to show her true form since she got trapped. Even her brother has never seen her like this, so it's normal for him to be shocked. Heijin figures when she mentions brother, she means Cerberus. Gently, the Hydra asks him how her little brother is doing because she really misses him. He simply says that her brother is doing well. He gets 3 meals a day, is working hard, and is happy with how things are going. Of course, he won't mention that Cerberus is now Percophone's pet. The Hydra smiles, saying she's glad to hear that. Heijin quickly waves goodbye, saying he's done here and is leaving. But just as he turns to go, she tells him to stop, and he freezes. She then says if he came all this way for her little brother, he can't leave empty-handed. Heijun's body won't budge. He turns back awkwardly, saying there's really no need for that. But she's already flicking her tongue dangerously, insisting. Then she turns and tells him to take something. She tells him to take the differently colored scale on her back. Our boy hesitates, unsure why she wants him to have it. She just tells him not to stress, claiming her scales have magical powers that will help him out. He thinks it's probably like the hair strands Wukong gave him. At this point, he's totally convinced, thinking there's no way he can pass this up. He stares at her, worried he might turn to stone. To be safe, he quickly activates the suit and yanks the scale off her back. The issue is that the suit isn't great for quick moves, and he ends up crashing down. He's grinning with a crystal in his hands, but the Hydra looks pretty annoyed. She congratulates him, thinking he's pushing his luck, but since he's bold enough, she won't turn him away. Wow, she just dared him to a fight. He scrambles up awkwardly, claiming it was just an accident. Meanwhile, Chiron is shaking, trying to wrap his head around what just went down. He yells, asking if the boy really beat the Hydra. From the Sempros's view, our boy is glowing while the Hydra lies on the ground, totally exhausted. Lucio, off Chiron's back, hugs Heijin, saying she's so glad he's okay. He shoots her a glare, reminding her he told her to stay outside because it was dangerous. She pouts back, saying she was scared. While they argue, Chiron can't believe a human took down the Hydra, something even Hercules struggled with. Hephaestus really sensed someone special. Heijin then turns to the Hydra and apologizes for being loud. She says it's fine and asks if the nymph is his. He quickly denies it, saying she's more like the kid from the block. The Hydra smiles, saying their relationship is pretty interesting. She then looks at Chiron, saying it's been ages since they last met. He's really aged a lot, and even his immortal body can't beat time. Or maybe it's her venom finally catching up to him. Heijin is puzzled and wonders if something happened between them. Lucio giggles, saying he really doesn't know anything. Their story is pretty famous. It involved Hercules, an arrow dipped in hydrovenom, and the end of Chiron's immortality. But that was all just an accident. On the battlefield, countless centaurs were sprawled out dead. Chiron was among them with an arrow stuck in his leg. Maybe it wasn't just a fluke, maybe it was karma. He paid the price for raising Hercules, the monster. In Olympus, someone called him Chiron the Wise and asked if he really wanted to lose his immortality. Kneeling down, Chiron agreed. He pleaded with Zeus to take it away. He couldn't handle the pain anymore. Zeus took a moment, then said fine. As a thank you for training so many heroes, he would get an astrological sign. Chiron wanted to know what that meant. But Zeus simply replied, "You won't die. One day, you'll get it." Chiron tried to argue, but it was too late. That was the day his life as Chiron the Wise ended, and he became the commander of Sagittarius. From then on, he was known as Chiron the Mythic. Back in the cave, the Hydra says her venom is a death sentence for any creature. That's why she's shocked he's still alive. He must be using all his mythical strength just to keep standing. Poor Chiron is clearly having a hard time and mentions her tongue is still as sharp as ever. Maybe he should just cut it off. The Hydra smirks, saying his mouth is dirtier now. She remembers him as a gentle soul. She then looks at Heijin and asks if his name is Heijin. He nods. He's organizing two really important things when a light flashes, temporarily blinding him. Then the Hydra holds up a small vial, saying she knows he came for her saliva. Chiron asked him to get it. Our guy asks if she knew from the start. She laughs and says of course, since he got it from Chiron. She looks at Chiron and tells him to come get it. Chiron hesitates and asks what she wants in return because he knows she won't just give it away. The Hydra sighs, saying everyone sees her as a villain, but she points out she never poisoned him. That was Hercules. Heijin, totally shocked, realizes this changes everything about the mythology. Even after hearing the real story, he's still in disbelief. The Hydra holds out the vial, saying she's been waiting for him to finally come get it. Chiron hesitates for a moment, then takes it from her. He pops the vial open and drinks it right away. Oh man. I can't tell if that was an antidote or not because his whole body starts burning. The venom seems to be spreading even faster in his leg. His vision goes blurry, and he collapses. Seeing this, Heijin panics and asks what the Hydra did. That's when he hears laughter. Chiron is on the ground, crying tears of joy, saying his leg is finally back to normal. For 3,890 years, he had suffered through that pain in a world full of mythical creatures. He had almost forgotten what it felt like to be free of agony. The Hydra, now gentle, pats him and says she can only imagine how hard it must have been to live like that. Heijin and Lucio rush over, calling out to him. Later, at Chiron's house, they're sitting around wondering why he's taking so long. Maybe the old guy doesn't want to pay them for their hard work. But Lucio tells him to stop accusing someone honest like Chiron. Heijin feels deflated. He probably doesn't even deserve to get paid since it was the Hydra who gave him the saliva. He sits there feeling foolish, realizing he has no argument. That's when Sharon opens the door and apologizes for making them wait. It took way longer than he thought to find what he needed. Our guy was about to call him out for taking forever, but Lucio shuts him up, saying they've been waiting patiently. She asks if he was looking for his bow, and he nods. This bow was meant for Hercules originally, but he thinks it's a better fit for Heijin. Our guy, being a total fool, is annoyed and says he'd rather earn some points, but he figures Chiram is a terrible negotiator. Even though he thinks it's just some random item, he takes it anyway. Just then, the door swings open. They both ask who it is, and a guy walks in saying sorry for barging in. Lucio seems to recognize him, and wow, this dude is holding a sword and oozing confidence. It's Ares, the god of war. Heijin, still clueless, mutters that he knows this guy as Olympus's biggest troublemaker. Lucio warns him to watch out because Ares is the prince of the gods right now. Being the son of Zeus and Hera, he's got a king for a dad and a goddess for a mom. Ares remarks that it's odd to see a mortal with a nymph. He asks if he's Heijin Lee. Our guy nods, and suddenly Ares lunges at him, saying he's finally found him. Heijin doesn't stand a chance, but then Ares drops to the floor, begging for help. Our guy is completely confused. At 27, Heijin Lee became the first human to whip up a god meal. Later, on a train, Lucio comments that this ride is super fast. He tells her it's not a car and to keep it down since there are other passengers. Our guy is wiped out because he just wrapped up one job and is already on to the next. That's when a notification pops up on his phone, showing minus 100,000 coins from Chiron, plus a 100,000 bonus. Heijin's tiredness disappears instantly, until the guy behind them tells them to pipe down. Lucio laughs at him for getting told off, but our guy doesn't mind. He just made $1,500,000. Now, the only issue is this urgent mission to save Erez Hunter in 5 hours. Back at home, he asks what the heck this job is all about. Erez explains that he hired a hunter, but when he checked the guy's location, he's marked to die today. Heijin asks why Erez doesn't just take care of it himself. Lucio points out that this goes against the law of causality. Kargin adds that gods aren't allowed to mess with the human life and death cycle. As tough as it is to swallow, All gods know they can't control fate. Still, Ares argues that this situation is different. He can't let this hunter die. He put everything he had on the line for this person. There's a special kind of mythic level hunter. Basically, gods can invest points in hunters not to boost their power. As the hunter gains fame, the god rakes in more rewards. But if a god puts points into a hunter who dies before finishing their mission, it's like losing everything in a bad crypto investment. Chiron thinks he's nuts for betting everything on one hunter. Turns out Ares has a serious gambling problem. Ares is trembling, pleading for help again. He not only used his own points, but also his dad's, without even realizing it. Hygen and Lucio are stunned because if Ares is talking about his dad's points, that means he just blew Zeus's entire fortune. Back on the train, our boy mutters that he's not a miracle worker. How is he supposed to protect a hunter with such mythic talent? But since this is urgent and Ares is paying, it has to be worth it. Lucio asks where they're going, and our boy shows her the ticket to Busan. Inside a cave, monster bodies are scattered everywhere. Songjin shouts for everyone to get ready. The next wave is coming. The whole guild goes on high alert as the beasts charge in. But wow, Seongjin slices through them like it's nothing. Is this guy, with all the mythic points, just mowing down enemies like it's a walk in the park? The issue is, no matter how many monsters they take out, the waves keep coming. Eren, our boy's future waifu, is also there, cutting through them all. Songjun asks how it's going, and she says that for now, the back of the cave is clear. He tells them to take this chance to rest. Everyone sits down in the cave to catch their breath. The leader asks how close they are to the boss. A teammate replies that the door should be coming up soon. Despite their struggles, it's pretty impressive they made it this far in half the usual time. Seonjun mentions he heard 6 rank hunters had to pull back, so the boss must be super tough. One teammate explains that the boss is a huge creature, about 10 meters tall. They might have had a shot if they faced it at full strength. The issue is, by the time they find it, they'll be worn out. Songjin praises them for falling back and calling for help. He then stands up and says it's time to move on because he wants to get home fast. The group walks ahead, stopping in front of a giant door. They know the boss is right behind it, and everyone prepares. As the door starts to open, Seongjin tells the tanks to lead the way. Inside, they find a cavern even larger than the last one. The weird part is there's nothing in the room. They look around, puzzled, sure this is the boss room. Suddenly, a few drops land on Eren's clothes. She wonders why water is dripping from the ceiling and looks up. Her face changes instantly as she yells for everyone to fall back, but it's too late. A wave of purple liquid pours down on them. Seongjin yells for her. At that moment, several adventurers start getting pulled away. He turns to the guy who gave them info and demands to know why everything is different from what he said. The guy starts shaking, and suddenly, tentacles burst out of his mouth as he whispers that he brought everything his mother wanted. It's clear now, this was a trap. Above them, a huge gelatinous creature covered in countless eyes lowers its tentacles. The scene shifts to a beach. Our boy and Lucio are standing there, staring at the portal he needs to enter to save, well, whoever it is. Yeah, like it's some top-secret NASA thing. We all know who it is. Lucio, frustrated, asks why she can't go with him. He tells her to be realistic. This gate is the second largest after Tartarus. He gets why she's upset since he almost died yesterday, but he only has one helmet. Then he gets an idea and gives her some cash, saying she can buy all the candy she wants. But Lucio throws the cash back at him, saying she can't be bought that easily. He shrugs and says that's too bad. With that money, she could grab 50 pieces of candy. Her face lights up when she realizes how much that really is. While she's thinking about that, he steps into the portal, telling her to remember, if she sees a stranger, send them away. In a flash of light, he's inside the dungeon. As he moves, he sees that this time it looks like a cave. He steps on something gross and wonders what it is. That's when he spots a pile of dead monsters ahead. Now it makes sense why the people inside are in trouble. There are way too many monsters around. The issue is, now he's stuck here too, and he has to get through all this. If only he had his motorbike, it would be a breeze, but it's not here. Plus, his suit is still on cooldown. It's only been 10 seconds since he got into the dungeon, and he's already out of options. That's when the shop menu pops up, reminding him he can always buy something in an emergency. For a moment, he feels hopeful. But when he checks the store, his motorbike costs 100,000 points to summon. What kind of bike costs 1,001? As he's grumbling about the price, someone sneaks up behind him. The person asks what he's doing, and he jumps in surprise, accidentally hitting the motorbike purchase. It's Lucio, saying there was no way she was letting him go alone. Just like that, 100,000 points are gone. He asks what she's doing here. He already told her she couldn't come. Lucio, as stubborn as ever, insists she already told him she was coming. Poor Huygens is giving her a hard time when suddenly, something lights up next to them. Lucio tells him to check it out, and sure enough, the motorbike shows up. But what's that second thing? This isn't his old bike. He got a new one. He's super excited. And good thing too, because a whole horde of monsters is charging at them. He tosses Lucio onto the back and speeds through the dungeon. Back in the boss room, the purple slime rain is still pouring down. Xiaozhen realizes this was the boss's plan all along. Now, unfortunately, everyone is stuck in the tentacles except for him. As he looks for a way to rescue them, something strikes from above. He barely dodges and unleashes a flurry of slashes. Attacks are coming from everywhere, and he knows it's only a matter of time before he gets caught. The big question is, how does he take on a boss that's on the ceiling? This is nothing like what they were told to expect. On top of that, it's the first time he's heard of a monster that can control a human. If this thing gets out of the dungeon, the whole world will go crazy. It has to be stopped here. Inside one of the tentacles, Eren is floating. Suddenly, her eyes snap open, and she wrecks everything around her with a flurry of slashes. Just then, Xianjun rushes over, relieved she made it out. He asks how she's doing, and she says she's okay, but at her limit. They need to take down the boss fast and free everyone trapped. She charges forward, saying she'll grab its attention and make a chance. The boss sends more attacks her way, but she dodges with ease. She lunges in with her daggers, landing a solid hit. That's when she spots the opening Xiangjun was waiting for. He activates Erza's divine power, his strongest move, Mars Punishment. Energy gathers and explodes, surrounding the boss in a huge pillar of flames. A few moments later, he's totally wiped out. This ability is one of the rare mythic skills, so he thinks the boss is definitely done for. This skill is the reason he still holds the guild leader title, and up until now, no boss has ever made it through. But, of course, this one did. Otherwise, our guy wouldn't need to jump in and save this fool, and that creepy demon eye wouldn't still be locked on him. The poor dude can't believe this monster is still standing, but Eren just yells at him to quit being dumb and start running. It seems like the guy's given up because he just apologizes and stays put. As the boss charges up another attack, he claims this is the end for them. Sangjun is going full drama, saying he wasn't strong enough to save his friends. Just then, the boss's eye swells, ready to fire, when out of nowhere, a motorbike zooms right through it. Our guy grins and says delivery's here. Both Xianjun and Eren are left speechless, jaws dropped, trying to wrap their heads around what just happened. Meanwhile, Haijin is fuming because his 100,000 coin motorbike is already filthy, but hey, he made quite the entrance. Through the smoke, the guild leaders are staring in disbelief, trying to figure out what just went down. Why on earth did a guy on a motorbike just show up? Suddenly, someone steps up, saying humans really gave this thing a terrible name. Lucio, all decked out as a biker, claims she's the elite pilot. The two of them just stare at this strange little girl, trying to figure out who she is. Meanwhile, Lucio is posing, telling them not to freeze up in front of the great Lucio. But then, the guy with the monster mouth shows up behind her. For a moment, she thinks this is the end for Mega Racer Lucio, until Haijin swoops in, pulling the gross creature out of his mouth, and demanding to know what kind of weirdos these people are. The poor guy getting eaten immediately passes out in Lucio's arms. Haijin then spots a flash of light, turning just in time to see that, even with its eye pierced, the boss is still alive. At that moment, he realizes this must be the real boss of the dungeon. Looks like he showed up just in time. He asks, which one of you is Sangjin Park? From the back, Sangjin says it's him. Our guy stumbles over, circling him, asking if he's okay, checking him out. He's super curious, saying that his face looks familiar. It hits him that he's seen this guy in Tartarus before. He never thought he'd bump into this hunter out here. What a small world. Sangjun yells for him to focus and take down this Dan boss already. But Haijin just shrugs and wonders what that has to do with him. As far as he knows, hunters are the ones who take down monsters, and he's just a delivery guy. There's no way he's getting into a fight. The truth is, his suit is still on cooldown, so he literally can't do anything right now. That's when Eren's expression changes, saying she didn't expect him to be the type to mess with people's lives. He tells her to relax. All he's saying is that Xianjun should be the one to deal with this boss, not him. Of course, Xianjun thinks that's crazy. He doesn't even have a weapon anymore, and is totally wiped out. But that's when Haijun pulls out his phone. The delivery's here. It's the weapon of errors, the one he brought along. As a bright light fills the room, both Xianjun and Eren shield their eyes, trying to figure out what's going on. Xianjun's eyes widen as he sees the legendary great sword appear before him, a weapon thought to be just a myth, the ender of wars. Our boy turns to leave, saying his job is done. But Sangjun calls out, asking who sent the sword and how he can just stroll through dungeons if he's not a hunter. Haijun turns back, his arm glowing with divine energy, and says, "You can call me the divine delivery man." He hops on his motorbike and adds, "We'll talk later. Bye." Sangjun is totally confused, trying to figure out who this crazy guy is. Meanwhile, the boss is gearing up for another attack. With no other choice, Sang-jun grabs the sword, his only shot. The moment his hand touches it, a red energy shoots up into the sky, and he feels a whole new strength surge through him. For a split second, his entire form changes. He fully awakens into Ares' mythic form. Eren watches in awe at the immense power radiating from him. The boss is gearing up for its last attack, but Seonjin is cool and collected now. He gets ready to strike back, feeling like he might actually win this fight for the first time. He taps into Era's divine power, making the sword grow huge and burst into flames. With one swing, he slashes forward. The boss strikes back, launching its own attack, a full-on Dragon Ball showdown. But unlike Goku, Seonjin isn't the main hero here. Still, his attack overpowers the monsters, completely obliterating it. The blast creates an X shape, lighting up the whole cavern. As the smoke lifts, Eren is left in disbelief. Not only did he take down the boss, but he also wrecked the entire ceiling. Wow, this guy is crazy. At least Ares' power is finally starting to fade. Otherwise, he would have been way too overpowered. Ares catches the unconscious Isekai and says he did well, but she's more curious about that biker kid. Back in the city, our guy is starving and just wants to grab some food. Even the divine delivery guy has needs. Meanwhile, the news is buzzing that the gate in Hyundai City is finally cleared. All thanks to the strongest hunter, Songjin Park, or so they claim. Lying in a hospital bed, Songjin mutters that it's all anyone can talk about. But he knows that without that delivery guy, he wouldn't have had a chance. He looks to the side, lost in thought. That guy is definitely not normal, especially since he's delivering artifacts from the gods. Just then, someone rushes down the hallway. It's Doyen bursting in, calling for the guildmaster and checking if he's okay. But as soon as he sees the boss, he mutters that the guy doesn't even look hurt. Then he gets pumped, saying he heard the kid completely wiped out the boss. No wonder he's the third strongest. Plus, he wants to know what that red sword was and where the other one went. Songjin just says it broke. Shocked, Doyen exclaims that sword cost 100 mils now and thousand, so how did it break? But the guy reassures him that the new one he got is way better. An item brought by none other than the divine delivery guy. Du Yeon is practically losing it, drooling everywhere. Who knows what's going on in his mind? Seonjin mentions it's good he's around because he needs a favor. Now that he knows who that guy is, he wants Doyen to track down his address. Doyen asks why, and of course, the boss wants to recruit him into the guild. The scene shifts to the Temple of Ares. Ares strolls in, grinning and saying that since the kid is back, he must have delivered the sword. Our delivery guy assures him it went smoothly and that the hunter's alive. Ares relaxes, saying it's no surprise the kid has such a solid reputation. Then he invites him inside to give him his reward. The kid smiles, thinking there's no way he's falling for a trick from Olympus's biggest troublemaker. Meanwhile, Lucio tells him to show some respect, since this guy is a prince of Olympus. That's when Jin Lee suddenly remembers, right? This guy's royalty. They walk through the temple while our boy looks around curiously. Suddenly, Ares stops and tells Lucio to wait there for a bit, only Jin Lee is meant to follow. The poor girl doesn't even get an explanation, and our boy just waves goodbye. They continue down the temple's halls, and suddenly, Heijun looks up, startled. The door in front of him is huge, and Ares says it weighs 3 tons. Our boy asks how they're supposed to open this Hunter x Hunter style door, and Ares replies, just use Nen, and boom, the door swings open. Clearly, the treasure inside is insane. Everything in there belongs to the heir of Olympus and the god of war himself, Ares. Naturally, our guy immediately wants to know how much all this is worth and asks if he can take anything. I thought Ares would be stingy, but he actually says he can choose whatever he likes. Then he crouches down, saying he knows something good and pulls out a golden box. Jin Lee asks what it is, and the guy admits he doesn't know either. Our boy asks why he's giving him something like that. The god replies that even for him, this item is a rare treasure, so it's best to keep it. He doesn't know exactly what it is, but he guarantees that whatever it is, it's definitely not useless. After all, it was given to him by an Olympian god, who said it was one of his most prized treasures. He's curious about it too, so it must be something valuable. But judging by Jin Lee's face, it doesn't look promising. He calls it junk, and Ares tells him to show it off. So our guy pulls out a small wooden stick, probably a nod to that other story where a level 99 wooden stick became super powerful. Suddenly, we cut to a huge ocean where a big ship is sailing. A guy yells that they have a problem because they've run into a bunch of sirens. And yeah, that's definitely an issue. Poor Jason, he's about to fall for their song. We jump back to our guy swinging that stick around. Everything's chaotic and he's waking up again. He's totally worn out. Looks like he had a long sleep. After getting that wooden stick from Ares. Yeah, strange. He went home, crashed, and now he's waking up to Lucio dreaming about sweets. He tells the sleepy kid to wake up, but realizes she probably needs more rest, so he covers her with a blanket. Later at a convenience store, he grabs an energy drink and some chocolate, pays the cashier, and notices a poster about the upcoming hunter exam. It's in 3 days, but he never thought about becoming a hunter. The issue is that it's getting tougher to sneak in and out of dungeons without revealing who he is. Maybe he should try this hunter thing. He heads home. Lucio asks for sweets, and he says he brought something nice. But then a system notification pops up. It's a request from Hephaestus, and he tells her he'll have to eat later. On his new motorbike, he arrives at a scorching spot and greets the dwarf god. The little guy is glad he got there so fast, and our boy asks what's going on. Hephaestus mentions that everyone's been talking about how he fixed Chiron's leg and helped Aer. Heijin, looking a bit awkward, says he didn't expect the news to spread so quickly. It was just luck. Then he asks what today's delivery is, and the little dwarf looks behind him. A man walks up, and Hephaestus says he arrived just in time. At that moment, Lucio looks surprised at the man's face, and as usual, Heijin has no clue who it is. Hephaestus mentions that this guy is super quick with sea deliveries. His name's Jason, and he works for Argo Deliveries. Like Heijin, he has no clue who this dude is. I looked him up online and found out he's some kind of legendary sailor from the Argonauts. I still don't really get what that means, but apparently he's a real figure. Well, not real in the usual sense, since it's mythology, but you know what I mean. He introduces himself to our guy, saying he can be called the Great Adventurer. I can't believe I actually Googled him just to have them explain everything to me now. Basically, Jason leads a crew called the Argonauts, made up of travelers and heroes. He thanks our boy for fixing his adoptive dad's leg. Then he wants to get down to business, and Heijin agrees. That's when Jason mentions his company is having some issues. Unfortunately, a bunch of sirens showed up on their route, blocking their way. In the past, they had Orpheus to handle the sirens. But right now, he's off on a long trip, so they're stuck. That's when Jason heard about the Great Delivery Man and came to talk to our guy. Heijin Lee asks if Jason is really asking him to deal with the sirens. Jason confirms that, yes, that's exactly what he wants. But our guy is confused. Is he a delivery guy or an exterminator? Why does everyone want to hire him to take out monsters? Jason tells him not to feel down, saying once he hears the reward, he won't want to say no. Turns out the job to take out the sirens pays 500,000. Wow, but still, killing sirens seems pretty harsh. They're cute. Well, kind of. But of course, Heijin pretty eager to take them out for that kind of cash. That's when Hephaestus reminds him that sirens are in the ocean, so it'll be tough with just a motorbike. Our guy is so out of it that he didn't even realize sirens live in the sea. Come on, man. Hephaestus reassures him, saying he's got just the right magic for this. They're already on the ship, getting closer to the Melodic Isles. Jason points out that they're right ahead, and Heijin tells him to chill. He's got it covered. Jason thanks him and says once he's back, they'll send a boat to get him to shore. At that moment, our guy jumps in, calling out to Felucio. Wait, did he just turn on his bike? Hold up, is this bike meant for water? Ah, clever move. His hat is powered up with water magic from Hephaestus. It's like Naruto's water walking jutsu, but for his bike. But Lucio warns him that he clearly doesn't get how dangerous sirens can be. He's picturing some hot mermaid with a fishtail. But Lucio tells him he has no clue how deadly their songs are. Even the legendary hero, Odysseus, had to block his ears when passing these islands. A small group of those creatures could easily take down a kraken. Heijin tells her not to stress. He's well prepared. When it comes to dealing with violent monsters, nothing beats knocking them out. The sirens are hiding in the water, whispering that a nymph and a human are coming. They dive into the ocean, saying they'll handle him. Our guy is just cruising on his bike when Lucio suddenly warns him that something's coming. Then, bam, the creature opens its massive mouth, showing a terrifying monster. But before it can do anything, Heijun swings his wooden stick right into its face. Yep, that's exactly what went down, folks. No other way to say it. He remembers Eris telling him not to worry because a gift from Zeus is sure to be super powerful. So he asks the siren how it feels to get hit by a plus 99 enchanted wooden stick. But the siren just blinks at him, totally unfazed. She says it felt more like being hit with one of those foam pool noodles. That's when Heijin suddenly thinks of Air's smug face and realizes he's been duped. This stupid stick is useless. A bit later, the sirens are searching the area, wondering where the two went. Our guy is hiding behind a rock with Lucio, helmet on. He asks how things look, and she tells him all the monsters went the other way, so they're safe for now. But right in front of them is the siren's nest. He remembers what Jason said. Instead of fighting them all, it's smarter to just take out the queen. If the queen goes down, the rest lose their power. But Lucio thinks this plan is crazy, especially since Ares' stick is useless. Hyjin grips the stick and says he really wants to take that jerk down. But he still has the store to think about. There's nothing money can't fix in this world. Just like that, a golden orb of Zeus's thunder shows up. And yeah, it definitely wasn't cheap. 150,000 points, about 1,500,000. Meanwhile, in the siren's lair, the queen looks well fed. One of the uglier ones says they've been without food for 10 days and asks to hunt, but the queen in all her beauty says no. Orpheus, the one who usually messes with their hunting, isn't around. An opportunity like this won't come again. They'll act calm until a big human ship tries to pass. That's when they'll attack. They just need to be patient because soon the perfect meal will show up. Wow, she's beautiful but scary, and our guy heard everything. He thinks it's wild how she's casually planning to wipe out a whole ship of humans. Lucio quickly says their plan is obviously to eat Jason's entire crew. Suddenly, Hyjin asks her if she remembers the black ramen they had. She says yes, and that it was delicious. He tells her that if she helps him with a specific plan, he'll get her the fancy version, which is way better. She sits up straight and says she's all in. Then he leans in and whispers the whole plan to her. She asks if he's really sure and warns him it could be a bit risky, but he takes off his helmet, puts it on her head, and says he's counting on her. He believes she can handle it. With that, she takes off, promising she won't let him down. He knows the helmet's magic only works nearby, so the mermaids can see him right now. That's when he yells, calling them a bunch of dumb fish. The beautiful, dangerous enemies turn around, curious about how he got into the temple. Our guy spins around, slaps his own butt, and dares them to come and take him out. Up until now, I haven't seen the artist give this much attention to any waifu, but for him, they even added shadows and lighting. The queen, clearly not happy, tells them to catch him. With that, the biting monsters charge at our guy, who's already running for his life. The issue is, since he took off the helmet, his swimming skills are about to wear off. Right then, he yells for Lucio, who's on his back holding the god orb. He activates the orb's power and says he's out of here. It was a one-time use thing, and the whole temple goes up in flames. The mermaids chasing him seem to be trapped under the debris as the whole place collapses. The original plan was just to take out the queen, but since they were running late, he ended up destroying everything. Now he knows Jason's life just got a lot easier. Lucio shows up to congratulate him, but our guy thinks it's a bit odd. If he took out the queen, why didn't he get a reward? That's when the sea monster, crawling out from the wreckage, grabs Lucio's leg. The queen asks what they think they're doing. At that moment, she doesn't hear any of her daughters breathing. Our guy screams for Lucio, who's about to be eaten. He jumps, activates stage 2 of his suit, and rushes toward her. Manny lands a solid punch on the queen's cheek, telling her to back off from Lucio. The fool spins around in the water from the hit. Our guy is really impressed by the suit's second stage. The downside? The queen has vanished. Suddenly, when he looks underwater, she's right there next to him. Wow, she grabbed his leg, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing. Yeah, since she pulled him down, I'd say that's bad news. The kid's getting dragged down into the depths. She warns him she'll keep pulling him to the ocean floor until he runs out of air. Jinli gets all dramatic, wondering if this is really the end for him. He just got his first apartment and still has so many points left to use. He didn't want to die, and he sure wasn't going to go out like this. It was time to take this boss down. At that moment, his big club was in overload mode, running at full power. He smashed it into her head so hard she looked messed up. Oh man. Her whole head was shaking, and then he unleashed a crazy combo, smashing her face with the club. The beating was wild, the ocean lit up, and Lucia was shocked to see our guys safe. With the big club in hand, he declared that justice was served and the mermaids were defeated. Later, at a Chinese restaurant, Lucio was eating and said this fancy dish was really tasty. Carboy smiled, glad she liked it. From now on, if she wanted anything, all she had to do was ask, and he'd cover it. He knew things could have gone south, but thanks to Lucio, he survived that mess and took down the sirens. Of course, he still takes credit for landing a bunch of hits on the queen. Then he tells her to enjoy herself because she deserves it. After all, the guy has 633,000 points. If he cashes everything out, the kid has $6,000. Even after spending $150,000 on Zeus power, he still made a huge profit. Fighting monsters really got him hooked, and that's when he remembers the hunter exam. Lucio asks what that is, and he jokes it's fried pork, but to come over and dip it in the sauce. At the restaurant, she says it's delicious, and he tells her the whole plate is hers. Too lazy to keep dipping, she decides to pour everything onto her plate. He quickly taps her on the head, saying that's rude. A little later, they're back home, totally wiped out. She really went to town on the food, and he tells her she overdid it. After working hard these past few days, he was thinking about taking a break. Just then, the doorbell rings and someone asks if he's home. He drags himself to the door, saying he's on his way. When he opens it, there's a person in a mask, glasses, and a beanie asking if he's Ha-Jin Lee. He immediately thinks it's some creep and slams the door, saying he's not buying anything. The person keeps insisting, but he's really annoyed. Since when do door-to-door salespeople even know your name? Lucio asks who it is, and he says it's just an annoying salesman. Meanwhile, the guy keeps banging on the door, claiming he knows exactly who Ha-Jin Lee is. He's the Divine Courier. Now he's in trouble. This guy really knows who he is. Frustrated, he opens the door and sees Seonjin holding a huge sword. He thinks this guy's lost it and asks why he's here. Seonjun says it's pretty clear. He's here to recruit him for the Yangwon Guild. Later, at a cafe, Seonjun pulls something from his pocket and says he has a reward for his help, last time before they dive into details. He takes it, and just like that, he scores $500,000. Easy cash for this kid. With a smug grin, he says he didn't need to give him that much. Seongjin assures him it's all good and says it's time to get down to business. If he joins the guild, he'll get a $200,000 signing bonus and a yearly salary of $300,000. Plus, he'll earn bonuses based on what he brings to the table. He asks what the boy thinks of the deal. Seongjin is sure that kind of cash would change any hunter's life. There's no way he can turn it down. Do-hyun, back at the hospital, told him that not only is Hee-jin not a hunter, but he doesn't even have a proper license. Still, he was making deliveries in Tartarus, took down 8 trigrams, and somehow ended up in another dungeon. Even without a license, having him in the guild would rake in a ton of cash. Sang-jun is hyped until our guy apologizes and says he's gonna pass. The guy was already planning dates, thinking the deal was done, but Hae-jun keeps reminding him he's not taking the offer. Now outside and feeling desperate, Songjin suggests they can talk about the terms again, but our guy insists he's not interested in joining any guild. The guild leader wants to know what he's doing that's better than this life-changing offer. Our guy pulls out his phone and says, obviously, it's his deliveries. As soon as he accepts a request, Seongjin is blinded by a flash and our guy disappears. The scene shifts to the middle of the mountains. Lucio points out that he said he was going to take it easy today. Sweating buckets, he replies that was the plan. He figured the customer who made the request would be at the top of a mountain. Usually, when he accepts a request on his phone, he gets teleported right to the person. But for some reason, this time he ended up at the mountain's base and has to climb all the way up. It's all that damn Seongjin's fault for trying to recruit him when he's not interested. He has some suits with cooldowns, but he doesn't actually have any powers. Plus, he can make way more cash with deliveries than with that offer, so Seongjin can take a hike. Eventually, they reach their destination. Both are worn out, but suddenly his expression shifts. Right in front of him are huge dark slimes with tons of eyes all over. As he wonders what the heck this is, she admits she has no clue either. While walking around, he accidentally steps on one and feels the same vibe as with that monster in the dungeon. He asks if she knows what kind of creature this is from mythology, but she says she's never heard of anything like it. Just as she starts to say she might have an idea, the ground suddenly shakes. The monster rises up behind him, and our guy thinks they're done for. But then a guy with a golden body comes up and throws a punch that makes everything explode. Hagrid Lee is totally shocked, and the man says he's way too old for this kind of fighting. With long hair and covered in scars, he sighs and says his body isn't what it used to be. Turning to his radio, he mentions he's heard a lot about the kid. Our guy is blown away by the huge legend standing in front of him, and wonders if this is his client. He asks Lucio if she knows who this dude is, and she replies obviously. He's the one who tackled the 12 tasks given by Hera, who, by the way, is pretty well endowed. This is the hero who helped the gods take down the giants, the legendary Hercules. The guy, a bit embarrassed, brushes it off as just a kid's tale and feels shy. Our boy starts thinking that if that's true, then this is the guy who shot the poison arrow into Chiron's leg. Then, Hercules asks if he was the one who helped Chiron heal. It's all a bit awkward. Hae-jin Lee says it was the Hydra that helped out. He didn't do anything. But Hercules gives him a friendly smack on the back, saying he's really glad he did that, almost wrecking his suit. Then the guy admits Lucio is right. He is indeed Hercules, a demigod from way back, now a mythical figure guarding Olympus. Our boy and Lucio skip the long intros and just introduce themselves. Hercules then explains he called them because he needs their help. Our guy asks with what, and Hercules points to a cave, telling him to check it out. During the giant attack, that spot turned into a portal for monsters to invade Olympus. Lately, all sorts of tentacle creatures have been popping up from there, and he's never seen anything like them, so he thinks it might be an invasion from another world. Our guy suspects this might be linked to that monster from the dungeon. Hercules says his request is pretty straightforward. He wants to find out where these monsters are coming from. At that moment, our boy gets a mission to figure out why the monsters are showing up, with a 24-hour deadline. If he doesn't complete it or cancels, he'll lose 200,000 coins. What the heck? But looking at Hercules with his bulging muscles, he just agrees, saying he'll try to sort it out fast. Hercules then says he's just like how his wife, Abby, described him. Our boy suddenly remembers that Abby is the first airhead who opened the door for his first delivery. And with that, he starts thinking about how fascinating it is that all this mythology is connected. Then the system says it will lead him to the destination. However, our guy notices something odd about the map. He looks at this cliff and wonders how on earth he's supposed to get there. Hercules scoops him up and reassures him that they'll make it there super fast. Before he can say anything, something gets thrown. Meanwhile, back at Sang's guild, Do-Yun rushes into the room, panicking and calling for the guildmaster. The leader tells him not to just barge in like that, but Do-Yun is dying to know how the chat with the delivery guy went. The leader simply says he got totally rejected, and the guy didn't even want to hear him out. His friend thinks that's odd since the offer was life-changing. But Seonjun shrugs it off, saying the guy just vanished without a trace. Do-Hyun thinks that sounds like a lame excuse, but the other guy disagrees. He's been thinking about how Haijun popped up in that dungeon earlier. On top of that, after everything went down, he even got a message from Eris confirming he sent that item. Sanjin tells him not to stress and that he'll try inviting that kid to the guild again. Meanwhile, he's just chillin', playing his Dark Souls sneaky dude. Doya comments that his sword is still in great shape. Since he got Eris's sword, he sold the old one, which was worth a lot too. The plan was to use some of that cash to recruit our boy, but he told him to get lost. Doya then mentions that he hasn't heard the latest. There's a guy from Japan really interested in buying it. The leader says if that's the case, it's time to get ready for the shipment. Lately, every time a pricey item sells, there have been thefts during delivery. The sword he's using is super valuable, so he can't risk it getting stolen. He thinks about hiring someone, and that's when it hits him. Our boy is a delivery guy. He tells his friend he just got a great idea. Back to our guy who got thrown by Hercules and landed in the ravine. He's all disoriented, trying to figure out why he got tossed like that. That's when the system chimes in, saying he's almost at the spot. Scared of breaking every bone, he pulls out his little motorcycle midair. Duke, he's speeding straight down. Then boom, not sure that was the smartest move. Smoke's rising, but the bike's got some crazy shock absorbers. He realizes that's the only reason he made it through. Hercules nearly took them both out. He even tells poor Lucio, who's out cold, to wake up because they're here. The issue now is he has no clue what he's supposed to find. He starts grumbling about searching for something he doesn't even know exists, when suddenly a giant foot slams down on him. The ground starts shaking, and Lucio clings to his leg, trying to figure out what's going on. He remembers feeling a similar quake when they faced that monster in the dungeon. Then he hears someone mention Hercules. He's confused, not sure who said it, and glances behind him. Dude, there's a guy with something on his back. If I'm right, this dude lugging a whole planet is Atlas. And wow, he's massive compared to our guy. He wonders why a giant is down here. Atlas asks if he knows someone named Hercules. All twisted up, he tries to explain that Hercules recently hired him to check out what's going on here. He brings up the three monsters, and suddenly, Atlas bursts out laughing. With this huge glowing sphere on his back, he says Hercules must be in trouble if he sent someone just to find him. But our guy wants to know why there's a giant with a giant ball, and what's happening. He boldly asks the big guy if he knows anything about the chaos, but Atlas says he has no reason to help him or Hercules. Our boy asks Lucio why the guy seems so angry, and she says it's wild he doesn't already know. The guy in front of him is the Titan Atlas, who carries the celestial sphere. After the Titans lost the big war, he got stuck carrying a planet for life as punishment for his whole race. That punishment came from Zeus, who's Hercules' dad. So that explains the whole grudge. He thinks to himself, man, Hercules should have mentioned this. If there was going to be all this drama during the job. At that moment, Alice asks if their little chat is done, and our boy is shocked that the jerk heard everything. Alice just says that, like the nymph said, if there are monsters around, it's not his problem. Now, Hyjin's in deep trouble, caught up in another divine mess when he was just trying to make deliveries. For some reason, he tries to play cute, asking if the Titan really wants to say no to this adorable face. Atlas tells him to shut it before he gets squished, but our boy insists he's not looking for a freebie. If Atlas spills the beans, he'll do whatever the Titan wants. Suddenly, Atlas looks different, but Lucio freaks out, saying that's a risky offer. Atlas laughs, saying it's absurd, like a regular human could do a favor for a god. But our boy is feeling bold, saying you never know, he could surprise him. The Titan thinks it over and finally agrees. For a human, he's got some guts. If that's the case, he wants a golden apple. If he can snag one without getting killed, he'll earn the right to know what the slimes are up to. Lucio immediately says that's impossible and warns him not to take this deal. Golden apples are super rare and only grow on Gaia's trees. Among the gods, they're usually given as wedding gifts. But before she can say anything else, he covers her mouth because he suddenly remembers something. He asks Atlas if that's all he wants. I've been calling him a god, but I just realized he's a titan. Atlas agrees, saying he gives his word as a titan, but our boy tells him to swear by the river Styx. I need to check my mythology. Basically, when a god swears by that river and breaks the promise, they lose their power for a bit. Atlas smirks and extends his pinky, saying our boy is something else. But he's not scared, so he swears by the river Styx. Right then, our boy pulls out his phone and says, "Now you can't back out." Dude, the golden apple only costs 1,000 points. Atlas is in trouble because our boy can easily buy one from the shop. He spends the 1,000 points, and just like that, a golden apple appears in his hand. He immediately shows it to the Titan, saying, "Here's your order." Atlas stands there, looking like a total fool, saying this little brat must be joking. Meanwhile, outside the cave, a bunch of purple slimes are crawling around. Hercules is out there smashing everything that pops up, wondering how long Hajin and Lucio are taking. That's when he suddenly thinks, wait, did I mention Atlas? He turns around and shrugs, saying they'll figure it out, when out of nowhere, a blue light flashes in the distance. Someone's coming in hot. It's our boy zooming through the sky on his motorcycle. Now his suit merges with the bike, creating a full-body combo. He shows up in no time. Hercules is about to congratulate him, but then the wheel smacks him right in the face. Dude, our boy just crashed into a god. He's standing there looking silly, but honestly, I think he did it on purpose to get back at Hercules for tossing him. A bit later, he's face down on the ground, apologizing and claiming it was an accident. Hercules says he doesn't care. It's not like the kid could actually hurt him, but our boy points out that Hercules' face doesn't look too good. With his face and finger all messed up, Hercules insists he's fine, acting like he's not hurt at all. Crossing his arms, he says Hygen took too little time, so he's sure he didn't get any info. It was definitely a suicide mission. Thinking back, Hercules is convinced that Titan is still pissed about the time he swiped a bunch of golden apples. Honestly, it's pretty messed up to steal from the guy who can't even put down the giant ball. Hercules then says, fine, since Hygen at least made an effort, he won't face punishment, until our boy casually mentions that Alice told him everything. The god doesn't believe him at first, but then our boy reaches behind him and pulls out a golden apple, saying that thanks to this, the Titans spilled everything. Then we cut back to the cave when Hee-Jun pulled out the apple. Atlas was stunned, wanting to know how a human could have one of these. Our boy, being straightforward, tells him you can buy one with just a click in the store. Atlas demands he hand it over, but our boy just shakes his head. No way. He says he's worried about getting scammed, so the Titan has to spill the info first. Then he'll hand it over. Atlas argues that wasn't the deal, but our boy just lifts the apple like he's about to take a bite. Back to the present, Hygen shares how he got all that info from Atlas. Hercules thinks this kid is definitely not your average human. No surprise he managed to fix his mentor's leg. The problem is, this disrespectful vibe really reminds him of his younger days. Finally, he tells our boy to just spill the info already. Our boy replies that everything Atlas said sounded like a riddle. Honestly, he didn't get much of it. Then he goes on to repeat what the Titan told him. The ground will break into 7 parts. Blue flames will flicker here and there. It seems pretty serious because Hercules starts sweating right away. This is way worse than he thought. And just like he feared, these creatures are from another world. What he really didn't want was for them to come from that place. Now it's coming back to him. Hygen is one of the few people he knows who can hop between the human world and the mythological one. But is it really fate that he ended up with a regular nymph by his side? To him, the 3 goddesses who spin destiny are both cruel and beautiful. He can't figure out why they put such a heavy load on a young human boy. Man, now I'm curious too. At that moment, our boy reaches out his hand. Hercules asks what he's doing. Of course, Hygen says he doesn't want to repeat himself. It should be obvious what he wants. He wrapped up the delivery, so it's time to get paid. Later, while sitting on top of the defeated creatures, Hercules is deep in thought when someone suddenly shows up, asking what he thinks of the kid now that they've met. It's Hermes, waving as he arrives, saying he just got here after the 2 left. Hercules treats him with respect, but Hermes says that's not needed. Still, the buff guy says he can't treat him like an inferior. After all, Hermes helped a ton with the 12 labors. Hermes sighs, saying he's not here to chat. Plus, Hercules really needs to stop ignoring Ares. Hercules just shrugs, saying he doesn't care. That guy's always looking for trouble and being rude, so he's done talking to him. Hermes laughs, saying Hercules really struggles with making friends, then asks if he's still on bad terms with Atlas. Hercules quickly replies there's no way he's going to apologize to that jerk. Then Hermes asks if the place Atlas told the kid about is the one they're thinking of. Hercules repeats the riddle. The ground will split into 7 fiery parts, and he knows it's that place because the prophecy literally mentions it. Hermes raises his staff, ready to take off, saying they need to get ready. He says he'll go warn everyone, but Hercules tells him not to stress. He knows the kid is behind all this. But Hermes just grins, telling him to chill out. Being the messenger is his job. With that, he takes off, telling Hercules to say hi to the old man for him. As he leaves, Hercules activates his aura and looks at the creatures that showed up, mumbling that it's finally time to handle these things. Meanwhile, back with Hyjin, Lucio is fast asleep. Our boy grabs the blanket and yanks it off her. She sits up, still half asleep, mumbling that she just needs 5 more minutes. But he tells her to get ready now, because it's time to go. She groggily asks where they're even headed this early. Our boy reminds her that today is the hunter exam. Still a mess, she says she remembers him mentioning it, but she has no clue what a hunter exam is. He calls her an idiot for wanting to go without knowing what it is. She just shrugs, saying staying home is boring anyway. Meanwhile, our boy has packed his bag, his registration card, some supplies, and of course his wooden bag for fighting. Lucio stands there with her hair looking wild, saying she's ready too. He just puts on a cap and tells her to hurry up. At the association, they arrive together, looking around at all the stylish hunters, while our poor boy is just a regular guy. But under his hoodie, it's clear the sneaky guy came prepared. A guy with a mic announces that the exams are kicking off, and anyone whose number is called should step up. The first dude is already holding a huge axe, facing off against 3 goblins. He brings it down perfectly. Wow, he just sliced that little guy in half. Our boy thinks 3 goblins are a piece of cake, so maybe it's just a warm-up. This seems way too simple. Any normal person could take out 3 goblins. If that's the case, he figures the test is less about killing and more about how you do it. Then they call number 38, which is him. Looks like the hunter test is basically a UFC fight. Standing in the octagon, his plan is to blend in and not draw any attention. But as soon as he activates his suit in the crowd, he spots a red-haired recruiter. Isn't that the woman from the enemy guild? Maybe. She was a real threat. Crap. The scene switched to another character. Just show Hyjin already. Some guy just wrecked the goblins with his fists, and now everyone's cheering him on. But the chubby guy munching on Doritos says, sure, he looks tough, but he's still missing that one thing every hunter needs. The blonde guy agrees. Maybe they still haven't found the real star yet. Then the redhead tells the 2 old guys to shut it, but she roasts them too, saying these guys aren't even good enough for a second-tier guild. Yep, the redhead is Joahan, the same one who stirred up trouble with the Black Dragon Guild. This world is wild. This woman wiped out a bunch of hunters, messed everything up, and now she's just sitting there calmly judging the newcomers. She wonders how it got this bad. Not too long ago, the Black Dragon Guild was the second best in the country. With her dragon tattoos on her thigh, she had a lot of influence. But after that controversial incident with the 8 trigrams, they lost a ton of supporters. Now she's stopped bringing in new members. I'm right here, recruit me. She sighs, hoping to find someone decent. Now it's candidate 38's turn. Lucio cheers for our guy from afar while he stands there all awkward. He wants to pass, but doesn't want to stand out and make things messy. The Godlers rush at him, but the plan is to stay low-key. The issue is, his suit triggers danger alerts, and he dodges just in time. He starts to notice these guys are way slower than the sirens he faced. He could probably dodge them even without the suit. The fierce redhead watches, saying Candidate 38's moves are intriguing. At the same time, she feels like she knows this guy from somewhere. Hyjin still has an attack ready. He's just dodging like it's nothing. After a bit, he decides to throw a punch, just enough to take him out without causing a scene. But as soon as his Hana hits, the goblin disintegrates right in front of him. She instantly recognizes him. That's the one she was looking for. A little later, someone congratulates our guy and hands him his badge. Turns out he scored the 3rd highest ever. They're sure he'll be one of the best hunters around and congratulate him again. Hyjin thinks this whole hunter initiation was oddly anticlimactic. Meanwhile, Lucio congratulates him, saying he was awesome, but now it's time to grab some food. He grabs her and says they're off for pork, then someone shows up. They introduce themselves, saying it's nice to meet him. She has fiery red hair and red eyes, introducing herself as Juahan from the Black Dragon Guild. Our guy instantly recognizes those curves and knows she's trouble. She mentions she saw his fight and was really impressed with his skills. She asks if he's interested in joining the Black Dragon. Before she can finish, he walks right past her, saying, "Nah, I'm good." She's shocked and tells him to wait, But he just says he appreciates the offer but isn't into any guild. But she can't let this chance go. She needs someone like him to help the guild rise to the top again. After the auctions, she ups her offer by 5 billion, around $5 million, plus a bonus. Tae-jin suddenly stops and she wonders if he's considering it. He comments on the amount, and she confirms it's the right figure. She's confident this will convince him. But then he looks at her like she's clueless and asks if the Black Dragon is really this poor. Lucio jumps in, saying they must just be pathetic. He keeps walking, and she chases after him, cursing that he won't find a better deal. Hae-jin just says he's already got a better offer. Then he drops the bombshell. Songjin's guild offered him 20 billion. She's frozen in shock. He walks off, leaving her devastated. A bit later, he and Lucio have already made it to the restaurant. On TV, they're already covering a new promising hunter. He's impressed. It's been an hour since he passed the test, and there's already a news segment. Looking at the menu, he tells Lucio to order and calls over the waiter. But before he can even react, someone's already bringing their food. It's Seonjin, saying the service here is super quick and the food is great. Hae-jin just sighs and asks if this guy is going to keep trailing him. Seonjin insists he'd never follow his dear colleague. He was just wandering around and happened to bump into him. Our main character gets straight to the point. If Seonjin came to talk about joining the guild, he can forget it because he's not interested at all. Seonjin tries to mention him passing the hunter exam, but Hae-jin cuts him off, saying those two things aren't related. All he wants is to steer clear of trouble, so there's no way he's joining a guild and attracting more attention. That's when Seonjin corrects him. He's got it wrong. He's not here to recruit him. He's here to hire him as the divine courier. He explains there's an item that needs to be delivered to Japan in 2 days. The issue is that some dangerous women are swiping deliveries. He admits that delivering is his strong suit, even if he doesn't like to brag about it. With a puzzled look, he says the pay better be worth it. Songjin reassures him not to stress. He's confident the offer will impress him. When Hae-jin sees the number 2, he thinks it's 200 million. But Seongjin corrects him, saying it's actually 2 billion. Instantly, Hae-jin's face hits the table as he insists the delivery will go smoothly. While Lucio happily munches away, Seongjin says he completely trusts Hae-jin's delivery skills. The scene then cuts to an apartment. A girl on the floor says, "Just give the command, Herms." Damn. What kind of sketchy deal is this? In the next scene, they're on a huge cargo ship. Lucio is blown away, and our guide explains that everything here belongs to the Yangwon Guild. He never thought he'd end up in a place like this. This felt more like an escort job than a delivery. Just then, 2 guards block his path, asking for ID. He casually pulls out his shiny black card and says he's there for the Yangwon Guild. The moment the guard sees that VIP card, he steps aside without a word. A bit later, they're in the middle of the ship, still in awe of its size. Lucio says it's big, but not as big as the Argonauts' company ship. Hae-jin laughs, calling this nymph so proud of Olympus. Then, they reach a container with a huge security lock. It's clear the sword is inside. This thing really stands out. But once he checks it and the door unlocks, he instantly gets why they didn't bother hiding it. The sword is secured with grates, chains, and everything you can think of. He finds it strange. Would any thief really have the guts to try and steal this? Lucio's taken aback and asks if she knows this weapon. Of course she does. She recognizes it right away. It's the famous sword of Durandal. Hae-jin's knowledge impresses him, but before she can brag, he interrupts her. Yeah, I got it. You're some top-tier nymph. Lucio just wants to know what the plan is now. He explains they need to hang tight and ensure the sword gets where it needs to go. The issue is, it's getting dull, but he can't afford to lose that 2 billion. It might seem like a lot for one delivery, but if that sword gets swiped, he'll have to cover it, and it's worth way more. Then he hears a horn, and a ship finally sets sail. Just then, a strange gas starts filling the container. Outside, the guards, looking like they're in a standoff, are just standing there, completely relaxed. That is until the gas hits them, and they drop face first. At this point, you could totally loot their weapons. And that's when a dangerous-looking woman in a tight outfit shows up. With a sparkle in her eyes, she cutely says Phase 1 is done. Inside the container, our guy is already out cold, until flick. A sharp flick lands right on his forehead. Lucio shakes him awake, and he jumps up, surprised he dozed off. She tells him some weird smoke started spreading. Now everyone on the ship is out. He quickly covers his nose, wondering if this gas knocks people out. He checks the sword, and thankfully, it's still there, all good. What's odd is his suit should made him immune to this. So maybe it's the thief's special skill. Opening the door, he spots a woman with her arms crossed. She's praying, asking the gods for strength to be a good thief tonight. Our guy already knows. This girl is a joke. He quickly pulls up his store menu. Buying something useful will make this delivery a sure thing. But just then, the thief makes her move. A green flash zips through the air. A rope wraps around her arm. She jumps, realizing this isn't just any rope. It's trapping her like a spider's web. When she turns, Hyjin casually says, "Looks like I caught myself a little thief." What he got from the store was a Ratchanin's rope, a strong binding rope that snaps under too much pressure. Now the thief is on the floor crying, claiming this gas was made by her god. So how is he still awake? He taps her on the head, calling her an annoying thief who asks way too many questions. The girl claims she's not a thief. She pleads for him to let her go so she can explain why she needs the sword, but Hyjin just smirks. Yeah, right? You really think I'm gullible? It's clear she's here to rob the guilds. She accepts being called a thief, but insists she only takes what needs to be taken. Everything she does is for a greater cause. Hyjin laughs, and she asks if he's heard of Robin Hood, the honest thief. She says she's just like him, taking from those with too much to help those with too little. Clearly, Hyjin and Lucio aren't buying her story. He even tells her she needs some help, and Lucio adds that some old folks are just strange. Suddenly, the girl yells, insisting he has to believe her. She was sent by Hermes to get these items. That sword needs to go back to its owner so they can get ready for the dangers ahead. Hyjin looks surprised, while Lucio suggests that maybe this girl really is a messenger from that god. But honestly, he thinks this girl looks too disheveled to be a real emissary. Then he tells her to clarify what these so-called threats actually are. Out of nowhere, she pulls an orb from her mouth, saying it wasn't meant to be used like this, but she has no other option. She warns him that he'll face a steep price for getting in her way today. A purple mist spreads over the ship, and as soon as it clears, she's vanished. Already swimming away, she grumbles that this was pointless, since those pills were super expensive. What she used was an astral form elixir, letting her become an astral form. That's all there is to it. And she vows to get back at that tight-suited jerk. To be fair, her outfit is definitely tighter than his. Her name is So Yin Choi. She reaches the dock, mumbling that it was too close, and now the elixir is gone. Meanwhile, she's already thinking about our guy, swearing she'll wipe that smug grin off his face. That's when a message pops up, asking if her mission was a success. She thanks Hermes, saying it was a close call, but she got the item he wanted. She successfully stole the Ring of Dissipation, a legendary artifact from King Arthur's tales. Hermes asks her to explain what went down. She quickly reports that she used the gas he gave her, but one person wasn't affected. The god replies that something like that shouldn't happen, and demands to know who it was. She describes him as a guy in a tight superhero suit who used a rope that felt like a legendary item to trap her. Right away, Hermes says this sounds familiar, and asks if there was a kid with him. She confirms that yes, there was a little girl with sky-colored hair, but she's puzzled about how this god got it exactly right. Apparently, that guy really is significant. That's when Eris jumps in, laughing at the coincidence. But he reassures her that this person was meant to be chosen. She breathes a sigh of relief, realizing they're all on the same side. Then she pauses and comes to a realization. Since they'll run into each other again, she's going to teach him how to respect his elders. Meanwhile, Hyjin is getting his $2 billion. Just like the guild said, a weird person showed up and things got chaotic. But Durandal made it to Japan safely, so his part was done. At least his apartment is paid off now. So he decides to drop by and see Hephaestus since it's been a while. Plus, he's curious about what can be done with the hydroscale he got. The scene cuts to Hephaestus' workshop, where Hyjin knocks on the door. Scratching his chin, he sees the lights are off and the guy isn't there. Naturally, Lucio suggests they just leave and grab a bite instead. But just then, someone calls out Hyjin's name. When he turns around, he jumps in surprise. It's Hephaestus. And just by looking at his face, Hyjin knows something's up. Someone dangerous is approaching. He turns to a high-level woman and tells her this is the divine courier. They already knew she was a threat, and she smiles at him, greeting our boy. The artist is getting bold. Hephaestus introduces her as Phrygia, the leader of the Valkyries, who even taught magic to Odin, the top god of Norse mythology. But our boy totally misreads it, thinking his friend is cheating on his wife with her. He grabs Hephaestus by the collar, asking if he thinks he's turned into Zeus. Hephaestus quickly clarifies she's just a client here for work. The woman laughs, saying Judd must be quite the character to think she was having an affair with Hephaestus. Honestly, that was a bit of a burn. The dwarf doesn't seem fazed while our boy is on the ground apologizing. Getting back on track, Hephaestus says they should get to business. He tells Hyjin he needs him to deliver this letter. The task is to take the letter to the owner of Helheim and look into the strange happenings in Valhalla. He has 120 hours to finish it and will earn 500,000 points. Hyjin repeats the names, confused, while Lucio starts shaking. She says this place is the afterlife in Norse mythology, where the dead go. She's pretty sure it's going to be super dangerous. Now that Hyjin's loaded, he's not so eager to risk his life. What if he kicks the bucket with all that cash just sitting there? Even if he quits today, he's got more than enough money to look after himself and Lucio, living the dream of financial security. Hephaestus thinks Helheim might be too risky for him. Before he can finish, Hyjin jumps in saying there's no way he's turning down 5,000 and 1,000. As he confidently claims he'll nail this job, Lucio kicks him, telling him to stop being so money-focused. In the next scene, they're already in a mountainous area with a green lake. Hyjin speeds across the land on his motorcycle. The place has a really creepy vibe, probably because it's the afterlife. Lucio says he took the job without realizing how dangerous Norse mythology can be. Hyjin, though, points out that she used to be way quieter. Maybe she should go back to that. But she quickly retorts that it's his fault. Every time they go out on a delivery, she feels like she ages a year. In Norse mythology, Valhalla is where warriors who die in battle go. On the flip side, Helheim is where regular folks and the dishonorable end up. Well, that explains why everyone wants to fight. You either go to hell and get devoured by demons, or you two enter a warrior's paradise. No middle ground. He recalls Frida mentioning she got news from Helheim recently, so everything should be okay. Chill out, lady. No need to freak out. Honestly, that just makes him more suspicious. With just 10 minutes left until he arrives, he's really loving the ride on this little bridge. But halfway through, he suddenly feels something. His chest tightens. The air in his place feels totally off, like he's freezing all over. Lucio says she can't move, and he realizes he can't either. Then a voice chimes in from the side. Wow. A living person on the bridge of Helheim. Wow, another woman. This author is tricky. He acts like he's not being sneaky, but we all see through it. The giant woman looks down at him, saying there's something off about them. She doesn't smell death on the girl, but the boy has already died once. He freezes, totally confused, and asks her to say that again. Now I'm confused too. Our boy was reincarnated and had no idea. Oh no, here comes the tragic backstory. My heart's already sinking. Of course, it's flashback time. Our boy is riding his bike in the rain. He knows delivering in this weather is a disaster waiting to happen. But his landlord won't stop texting, threatening eviction if he doesn't pay rent. His only choice is to keep delivering, until a car cuts him off. But our boy reacts quickly. He swerves onto the sidewalk and just avoids a crash. Of course, he's furious and ready to yell at the driver. But then he sees something. His deliveries have all spilled onto the road. Now he's really in trouble because he'll have to pay for the damages. As he types on his phone, a horn blasts. In the pouring rain, the truck driver doesn't notice him. And just like that, another victim falls to the truck. That's how Jin Lee passed away at just 27. And for some odd reason, someone decided to show a drooling picture of him at his funeral. No clue why, but that's what went down. Back in the now, he mumbles that this woman might just give him a heart attack. But she just points out that he smells like decaying flesh, saying it's absurd for him to claim he's never died. Lucio jumps in, suggesting that since he went to Tartarus, maybe the smell of death stuck to him. Just like nymphs near water smell fresh, nymphs in the sea have a fishy scent, and those by waterfalls smell like moss. Even if Tartarus and Helheim come from different myths, both are places for the dead. Our guy gives himself a sniff. He doesn't catch any scent, but then it hits him. Back in the cave, the Hydra mentioned she could smell spirits on him. The woman nods, saying that makes sense. She's heard about a mortal who met Hades deep in Tartarus. If that's true, then he should already know who she is. The one in charge of guarding the passage. First off, our guy has no clue. Second, was that flashback real or did he actually die? Lucio, though, knows. There's only one person with that title, the Bridgekeeper, also known as the Warrior of Wrath. She's sure this woman's name is Mangud, which is a terrible name. The woman congratulates her for knowing her other titles, then asks why they want to cross this bridge. Honestly, Lucio just says it straight up. Freyja asked them to deliver this letter to Hel. As soon as Manhwa hears the Valkyrie's name, she gets it. If it's for Freyja, then she'll let them through. Our guy rides ahead. He thinks it's strange how easy this is, but hey, easier is better than harder. Time to speed up and cross before she changes her mind. From a distance, my good watches. She never thought that woman would send him a mortal and a nymph. No way. These two are in for a wild ride. Our guy keeps picking up speed. He's finally getting close to Helheim. But then it turns freezing cold, like super cold. Lucio sneezes and gets him all wet. Hyjin shoots her a look, remembering how Phrygia didn't warn them to bring warm clothes. Lucio suddenly remembers, right, Helheim is freezing because the dead don't feel cold. Hyjin asks why she didn't say anything earlier. She shrugs, saying she can't remember everything. Does he still recall everything from school? She tells him to stop complaining and just buy something from the special shop. Pouting, he reluctantly opens the store. Unfortunately, yeah, that's probably the best choice. There's a baby wolf fur coat for 200,000 points. At least it keeps you super warm, even in the coldest weather. He thinks it's crazy to spend 200,000 points when his motorcycle costs 100,000, but it's his only choice. He buys it, losing 200,000 points. At least he still has 600,000 left, so that's okay. Putting it on, he tells himself that once he finishes the mission, he'll have at least 500,000 points again. Looking back, he sees Lucio is also bundled up in a coat, smiling. He's surprised. He didn't think the purchase would cover her too. Then, he realizes it must work like the helmet effect, where nearby people also get the benefits. The next moment, he speeds up, saying now that he's warm, he'll finish this as fast as possible. But after a while, he's still stuck in the snowstorm, which seems to be getting worse. He's warm thanks to the jacket, but his bike is struggling and slowing down. Not only is he unsure if he'll make it on time, but his map has also stopped working. So they pull over behind a big rock. If they keep going, they might get buried in snow, or so Lucio thinks. But Haijin brushes her off, telling her to chill. He just stopped to check if his phone would get a signal. This guy is really serious about his deliveries. He still has 41 hours left, but he's already freaking out. Wow, the destination is far away. Looking at the map, he realizes they'll barely make it if nothing goes wrong. Lucio suddenly yells at him, asking if he's dumb enough to fall asleep here. But she's actually pointing, saying something strange is coming. He steps out from behind the rock to check it out and instantly feels the ground shake from footsteps. He thought it'd be a Yeti or something, but it's just a muscular guy in a Speedo running at them. This guy casually shouts at them to run or they'll be in big trouble. He's being chased by a pack of wolves. Now Haijin's really mad. This idiot just led the wolves right to them. The chase is on. The speedster is running for his life, while our guy is flooring it on his motorcycle. Haijin tries to ask him something, but the guy cuts him off, saying, "Don't talk to me. I can barely breathe while running." But Haijin is impressed that this guy can keep up with his bike on turbo. Both he and Lucio yell at the guy, asking why he brought the wolves here. The man says he just wanted to say hi because all he's seen since arriving is wolves and snow. That answer doesn't sit well with them. Lucio flat out tells him to turn around and let the wolves eat him. But just then, Haijin spots a cabin in the blizzard. This was their chance to regroup, so he guns his turbocharged motorcycle through the gates and rushes inside. The weird guy yells for them to wait, but our guy sees the wolves coming and hesitates. What if he lets him in and they all get attacked? Without a second thought, he slams the door in the guy's face. He figures he gave him a shot at survival, but the guy yells back, thinking he won't go down that easily. Then he leaps 30 meters over the wall. Lucio's jaw drops, looking like she just got hit. The guy lands right in front of Haijin and smirks, telling him not to be so surprised. There's no challenge a real man can't face. Is this guy a Sigma or an Alpha? Haijin is so blown away by his speech, it's giving off major red pill vibes. The Speedo guy starts walking over, saying he'll introduce himself. But Haijin quickly tells him there's no need to get personal. The guy brushes him off and introduces himself as a descendant of Odin, the wise father of all beings. His name is Sigurd, a respected warrior from the Volsson family. With no other option, Haijin says it's nice to meet him. Sigurd responds that the pleasure is his too, but Lucio, as usual, already knows exactly who he is. She's starry-eyed like a fangirl meeting a celebrity. She exclaims that he's the legendary hero who killed Fafnir. Hold on, if this guy took down a giant dragon while half-naked, he must be super strong. Lucio explains that he's known as the Dragon Slayer. The cocky guy is beaming with pride, saying those stories are way overblown. No need to put me on a pedestal. But Haijin has already caught on. This guy loves the spotlight. Sigurd then tells them they shouldn't be standing out in the cold. They should head inside the cabin. Haijin is a bit wary. He doesn't even know who lives here. But the guy just says, wouldn't it be dumb to stay out here and wait to get eaten by wolves? Fair enough. After all that running, Haijin checks his map. They're getting closer to their destination. Maybe taking a quick break wouldn't hurt. Inside the cabin with the pot simmering, Sigurd asks about their story and why they're here. Our guy just says he's delivering something for someone far away. Sigurd looks puzzled, saying it's the first time he's seen a courier in Helheim. Then Haijin asks why he didn't just deal with the wolves since he's a dragon slayer. Lucio agrees, saying it would have been easier to show off his strength and take them out. But Sigurd reminds them that they're missing something important. Right now, they're in Helheim. Inside, our guy comments that the castle seems pretty for an underworld place. Then out of nowhere, Sigurd stops. A girl in a maid outfit shows up. Ganglet, the Wanderer. Before anyone can say a word, she already knows. He's here with friends to deliver a letter from Frasier. He's about to ask for an escort to meet Hel, but Ganglet cuts him off, saying that's already sorted. They follow her through the halls, and Jin asks Lucio if this woman is a goddess or a mythological hero. Lucio explains she's neither, but she's served hell for a really long time. Lucio then praises Ganglet, saying it's impressive she's served the same goddess for so long and even asks for advice. But the maid just stays quiet. Lucio gets annoyed, not realizing that Ganglet is actually freaking out inside about how cute she is. Then they reach a big door, and Ganglet announces that hell is inside. At that moment, Sigurd steps back, saying this is where he bows out. He reminds Jin to hand over the letter before he leaves. The door opens, and our guy starts to feel anxious. The vibe in the room is totally different from any god he's met, since this one rules the underworld. As they walk in, Ganglet introduces them. Hell giggles and immediately comments on their strange aura, neither alive nor dead. Looks like he's the troublemaker in Helheim. Jin quickly clears it up. He's just here to drop off a letter and bounce. In a flash, the letter is grabbed from his hands by a little one. He expected a fierce goddess of the underworld, but instead, she just wants to know if what's written inside is true. Jin says he has no clue what's in it. His only job was to deliver it. He asks why she's so interested, and Lucio jumps in, saying you can't just say stuff like that to a goddess. Hell leans in, resting her chin on her tiny throne, calling him brave. Most folks are scared of her. Because of that, she decides to answer his question. She explains that Valhalla is under attack, and the invaders are pretending to be from Helheim. But she never gave that order, so someone else is in charge. She mentions that across all realms and myths, there's only one race that can challenge destiny. And she goes over the riddle about the ground splitting into 7 parts and blue flames showing up. She knows exactly who's behind this. Jin feels a bit let down that the ruler of Helheim is just a little girl. Now it makes sense why Ganglet works so hard to stay here. After a bit, Hell leans back on her throne, asking if they've left. Ganglet confirms and mentions she opened a portal to send them straight to Olympus. Hell grumbles that Frida's humor is wild, sending a human to the land of the dead. But Ganglet corrects her. That guy isn't just anyone. He's known as the Divine Courier. Apparently, he's got a reputation among mythological beings. He collects points as payment. Hell thinks this over and says she gets it now. At least, thanks to him, she confirmed those creatures exist. Then she tells Ganglet to get ready for their departure. Ganglet looks puzzled, but Hell makes it clear. This time, she's going to join the trip herself. Back with Hephaestus, he asks if Jin really said that. Maybe he got it wrong. But Jin insists he heard it right, and Lucio backs her up, saying she was right there. Freyja brings up the prophecy again, talking about the 7 lands, saying she never thought anything like this would happen. Jin is intrigued. Why is everyone so serious about this? He remembers when he told Hercules, his face completely changed. Freyja waves goodbye to Hephaestus, saying she'll come back later for the item because this is more urgent. She wishes she hadn't heard about it. But now that she knows, she feels she has to share the news. She doesn't get, though. How did it get this bad without anyone noticing? Maybe someone's been hiding the truth and pulling the strings in the background, just like Ragnarok. Suddenly, Jin grabs her shoulder. With a blank look, he asks if she's forgetting something. Hephaestus freaks out, calling him insane for stopping a goddess. But Jin stands his ground. No way I'm letting this goddess leave without paying me. This time, Frisia isn't smiling. She glares at him, calling him rude. How dare a mere mortal touch me without permission? The atmosphere gets tense and Jin starts shaking, not from the cold, but from sheer intimidation. But even then, he won't leave empty-handed. He starts dancing, chanting for money or revolt. This guy really is a bit off. Lucio, standing next to him, mentions that studies show this pose boosts your chances of getting paid by 99%. Phrygia stares at him and sighs. She really did forget. Thanks to the fat, our guy scores 500,000 points and gets a bonus of 250,000. He quickly gives her a shout-out. Now he's officially hit 1,000 points. Wow, this kid is really on his way to becoming a millionaire. Suddenly, Lucio drops a double foot kick on Jin's back, calling him a money-crazed maniac. Frisia just laughs, saying these two are a total mess. She giggles and says sorry for getting so worked up before. Hephaestus just sighs and tells Jin he can't tell if he's being foolish or just clueless. Jin asks what he did, but the dwarf just brushes it off. Never mind. A real man should have guts, anyway. Then, Jin says he has a question. He wants to know about this prophecy regarding the 7 lands showing up, since everyone who cares seems to panic. Even Hercules looked scared when he brought it up. Hephaestus is shocked. Jin has already talked to Hercules. After Jin fills him in on everything, the dwarf yells that he should have said something sooner. Jin just shrugs, saying he never asked. Besides, he has no clue how to get to this place everyone keeps mentioning. Hephaestus thinks it over, saying it makes sense that the gods' council is happening soon. It's definitely to talk about this prophecy. That meeting's called the Council of the Olympians. The last one was 389 years ago. Nang gets why he's being called back. Heejun pushes for more info on the prophecy, but the dwarf cuts him off, telling him to forget what he's heard. Just knowing what he does is already super risky, so he shouldn't ask more. Heijun, being curious, says he doesn't get why they're keeping so many secrets, but Hephaestus just tells him, this is something only a god can deal with. If fate wants it, he'll learn more since he keeps hopping between realms. But if he cares about his life, he should steer clear of digging deeper. Hephaestus thinks it might have been better if Heija stayed in the dark. Later, back in the city, Lucio tells Heijun to open the door so she can finally sit down and relax. Our guy punches in the passcode, and at last they're home, feeling happier than ever. The apartment they've been paying for is finally theirs. A nice fancy place to call home, Heijun looks around and thinks. With all the old furniture gone, he finally feels like the true owner. Lucio, on the other hand, quickly claims a room, but Heijun insists on taking the biggest one. She won't accept that and says they should settle it fairly. Let's do rock, paper, scissors. But Heijun grabs her arm and firmly says, no way, see you later. He thinks it's a good time to buy new furniture and heads to the door. Just then, someone knocks. He stops, puzzled, they just got here, who already knows his address. He grabs the doorknob and tells the person to hold on. When he opens it, it's Erin. She's there, looking amazing, holding a big cake. Heijun asks what she's doing here, and Lucio instantly recognizes her from the dungeons. Then Heijun remembers she was supposed to move in next door. Now it all clicks. Wait, did he already know that? Because I had no idea he knew. Erin holds up the big cake and says this is for the divine courier. Heijun takes it and asks what it is. She replies it's a rice cake. A rice cake? Rice cakes where I come from are totally different, but hey, I'm not Korean, so I can't say if this is any good. Apparently, she's been eager to throw a welcome party for Heijun, but our guy just turns it down. He says he just got back, so it's not a good time. The poor girl looks really let down. She was really looking forward to celebrating. Meanwhile, Lucio, still hungry, asks if the whole cake is for eating. Before Heijun can say anything, Lucio snatches it and runs off. While stuffing her face, she claims it's his fault since she hardly ate today. But the moment she tries it, she starts throwing up. Heijun asks what's wrong. Lucio says it tastes like chocolate, dirty water, and brushing your teeth all at once. Pretty specific, right? Heijun tells her that's what she gets for taking something not meant for her. Erin, however, calmly takes a bite and says she's always liked mint chocolate. Honestly, same here. Mint chocolate ice cream is top tier. I love how she's just hanging out in his apartment while Heijun is still trying to figure out why she's there. Finally, he asks her. She explains that the guild needs to look into something, and Seong-jun asked her to talk to him. Heijun realizes they want to hire him as an investigator, so he asks what's the offer. But Erin says he'll need to talk to the leader for the details. Heijun doesn't want to see Seong-jun again, so he asks her for a rough idea of the payment. She holds up 2 fingers. 2 mills and mills and thousand? Heijun guesses. Then she raises 2 more fingers. 4 mills and thousand. Heijun's face shifts immediately. Got it. Where's the leader? Let's chat. Later in a parking garage, he's in Iron's car. He thanks her for the lift, but Lucio isn't happy. They were meant to go furniture shopping, not take on another job. Heijun says he's just hearing out the offer. They'll shop right after, but Lucio keeps complaining, saying they were supposed to buy furniture and grab a nice meal. That's when Erin gives her a ticket. She tells Lucio he can use it to eat at the guild cafeteria, which has loads of great food. Lucio's face lights up like a kid with free candy. Heijun glances quickly behind him. The guild building was huge. No wonder they were the top in the country. A bit later, Sang-jun greets him with a big grin. He even apologizes for not bringing a gift, but Heijun doesn't mind. He just tells him to get to the point. He doesn't want to waste time, especially since his partner is getting restless and wants to leave. Seong-jun says that's cool and asks him to sit down. As usual, Heijun is already annoyed by how friendly this guy is. Then Seong-jun starts to explain the situation. Heijun sees on the paper that it's about re-evaluating the difficulty of certain dungeons. Seong-jun explains that Heijun should know this since he's been in dungeons where strange creatures pop up and the difficulty spikes. Because of this, many people are avoiding dungeons, and that's a big issue. If no one clears them, the monsters start breaking loose. That's what they call a dungeon break. Heijun nods, acknowledging how urgent this is. No way this guy thinks he can tackle such a huge issue. He turns the page and immediately calls them out. You guys are kidding, right? They want him to spy on the Red Drake. It's the toughest level 7 creature in the country. Even if all the top hunters teamed up, they wouldn't stand a chance. Heijun, fuming yourselves. Aren't you all supposed to be the best? Why are you sending a delivery guy for this? Songjin explains they'll help out on the mission. They'll take care of the easier stuff in the dungeon, but they also need info on the Lizardman King. Apparently, that's another scary boss, and Heijin is already trembling. He accuses Seongjin of offering him 4,000,000 just to get him killed, but then Seongjin clears it up. 4,000,000 is just for joining. If he actually collects the info, he'll get another 4,000,000. Heijin freezes, you're doubling the offer? Seongjin, fully in Jiva chat mode, just says yes. They shake hands, deal done. Scene shifts to a mysterious lake with a rainbow overhead. In the middle, an old man holding a golden staff. A horse-headed man shows up and the elder greets him. It's rare for you to be late. The orange-haired figure says he had some trouble on the way. He drops a purple worm onto the ground. I found a bunch of these things down below. They shouldn't be showing up in the Norse regions. The old man examines the creature. I didn't think they'd spread this far already. This virus is spreading faster than he thought. He knew the apocalypse prophecy had started, but he didn't expect it to hit so quickly. The horse-headed guy is getting ready to leave. Odin told me to head to Helheim. Something's up with Valhalla. The old man waves him off. No worries, Phrygia sent a Greek hero to handle it. The horseman raises an eyebrow. Was it Orpheus or Achilles? The old man shakes his head. Nope, just a regular guy like you. Hold on, this guy isn't a god. He frowns, clearly annoyed. And who is this regular guy messing with my work? Is he just another Greek god, little champions? Meanwhile, our buddy Heijin is sitting there, grinning like a fool. Because wow, money is great. The scene then shifts to the gate of Chunlin. Heijin is saying he promised he wouldn't come near this place, but here he is. Lucio, all hyped, asks if he's been here before. He says no, but he spent a month in a place way worse than this dungeon. The poor girl is impressed, saying she knew he wasn't just an ordinary person. What kind of regular person would spend a month in a place scarier than this? He tells her that the kid has no clue about his life, but it's time she took a look. Then he pulls out his new 2.0 bike. Man, at this rate, he'll be riding a truck soon. With every upgrade, it just keeps getting bigger. This is his super tough little bike, made with rare materials and crafted by a pro for an elite delivery guy. It's custom built for him. It cuts down 90% of all damage the rider takes. He mentions that he asked Hephaestus to merge it with something. I bet it's that Hydra scale. Oh wait, it's in his hand. Now he's there, checking out the bike, saying he never thought it would be this awesome. The old ride was decent, but he couldn't risk getting paralyzed again, like when he crossed that bridge. As he approaches the portal, he says he's not scared anymore. Time to take down that lizard monster. In the swamp, our guy was zooming on his bike, gliding over mud and water. He was really impressed with this upgrade. The wheels just kept rolling. Poor Lucio, on the other hand, was getting all muddy and slimy. But then he suddenly stopped, and they both jumped. Right in the dungeon, there was a whole city. Not just any city, but a fancy one. He seemed to know about it, thinking that according to the info he got, he'd find that lizard man after going through this gate. But he thought it was odd. Why was there no one guarding anything? That's when a bunch of lizardmen showed up with spears, and he got annoyed, realizing he basically brought this mess on himself. He should kept quiet to avoid them, but when the first lizardmen looked at the gate, there was nothing there. Harboy was hiding calmly with Lucio in his helmet. Lucio comments on the creatures and the lizard man. He says that's obvious and tells her to stop invading his thoughts. The nymph then asks what they're planning to do, if he's just going to wreck everything like usual. But Heijin knows this time, he's not here to kill anything. His goal is to gather info on the boss. At least this time, theoretically, he shouldn't have to risk his life like before. He's going to find the king, gather intel, and get out safely. You can bet that's how it's going to go. At least the guards walked by without noticing anything. The creatures were smart, but their senses weren't as sharp as he thought. The capitalist feels pretty safe, thinking if things go south, he can just buy something and bail. But out of the blue, a new delivery shows up right in the dungeon. He's a bit thrown off. He's on a mission, so why is this popping up now? Just as the light signals the big guys are coming, did you forget to turn off notifications? In this case, make sure to turn on notifications for the channel, okay? Don't turn them off. You're not in a dungeon, buddy. He starts running to figure things out, then suddenly stops. Lucio asks what's up, and he says she'll get it soon. Just as the big lizard lunges, our guy pulls out his phone. The creature halts because, oddly enough, a delivery mission just came in for our guide. Straight from the Lizard King. Even the big lizard looks stunned. Both the creatures and Lucio are clueless about what's happening. Heijin thinks it's weird to get a delivery from a beast instead of a god. But for him, cash is cash. He glances at the lizard and says he's in a rush. They might as well take him right to the boss. That's when the shaking crocs point at something. Jin was about to tell them to stop pointing at his face, but he hadn't noticed the huge shadow behind him. As soon as he feels it, he slowly turns around. Oh man, poor Lizard King looks even worse than we do. Alright guys, let's tackle this dungeon together. Our guy quickly sees that, yes, there's a crown on its head, but it doesn't look like the creature from the reports. The king hisses and flicks his tongue like a little snake, but there's no way to figure out what he's saying. But if there's one thing that can fix any issue, it's money. All it takes is a translator app, for instance. Or even better, getting a free translation. Lucio steps up to help our guy out. He asks her if she gets it, and she says yes. Claiming the lizard language is pretty easy to learn. The king makes more snake-like noises, and Heijin wants to know what he said. Lucio explains that a long time ago, a disaster hit the lizard kingdom. A brutal invader wrecked the place. No one was safe, from kids to eggs to adults. Even the elders were wiped out. The whole kingdom was left in shambles. Heijin already knows what they want. They definitely want him to take on this invader. The kid is quick. Looking at these poor creatures, he can see they really want this. Man, this is rough. He came into the dungeon as a heartless hunter, and now these lizards look like Yoshis from Mario. All of them with their big, pleading eyes, asking our boy for help. Even Heijin is wondering why the artist made these creatures so cute. Then he introduces himself as Jose, just a regular delivery guy, not some big-time warrior or amazing hunter. Lucio translates the king's words. If you save my kingdom, you'll get a treasure beyond imagination that only exists in the lizard realm. And of course, that curious bastard Heijin wants to take it all. He's too eager to find out what this treasure really is. Lucio says the king is inviting him to the basement to show him. Right in front of him, Yoshi is kneeling, begging. Our boy confidently says there's no need to worry about what it is. I'll take down that intruder. Later, down in the basement. Wow, these lizards really have a lot of treasure. Wow, check her out. That sneaky bandit is back again, with that smug grin. She's saying it looks like there's a ton of good stuff here. She's torn between grabbing the valuables or just clearing the whole place out. And now there are only 10 seconds left before our guy walks into the same room. Heijin and Lucio are right at the door. That jerk knows if the door's this big, something good must be inside. The king, using the last bit of his life, tries to open it. Something glimmers gold, and then the door swings open. Our guy stands there, mouth wide open. But I have a feeling this place is going to be empty. Just wait. Actually, never mind. Look at that. It's still packed with treasure, and that pesky thief is hiding in there. Heijin thinks there's just as much treasure here as in Erisware House. Lucio says the king told them they took all this from humans who kept invading and failing. The king's all proud, but our guy isn't impressed. He was about to say something about the treasure when something caught his eye.
Yeah.
That something was just a person with piles of coins on her arm. She watches the coins drop to the ground with a clink and casually says, "Hi, what's up, my dude?" The second she shows up, the other lizards stop being cute and turn furious. Lucio translates, saying they're yelling to catch the bandit. Yeah. No joke, man. This thief is so useless. She's already stuck. Heijin wants to know how she got in here this time. Suyan is really puzzled. She was told to grab whatever's here, but she can't figure out how this guy popped up again. She looks at him and asks if he remembers her. She mentions she's also with Hermes and knows he works for that guy too. He should probably explain that to the lizards. Lucio jumps in, saying the king wants to know if Heijin is really with that girl. The poor guy, scared about losing his cash, starts crying, claiming he went to an all-boys school and never had a female senior, so she's lying. Lucio asks why he's crying and points out that she wouldn't cry just over losing money. Heija steps up to the girl and tells her to cut it out. What an idiot. I'm not with Hermes. This really confuses the girl. She knows he's doing jobs for Hermes, so why hasn't Hermes told him? Stuin then says if he helps her escape, she'll do whatever he asks. He's definitely thinking of asking her for money. Lucio warns him not to trust a bandit, which is solid advice. After a moment, he says fine. With a sly grin, he tells her he'll ask for something, but she has to promise to do it at the River of V. She thinks swearing by the River of Styx is crazy. But he just says if you don't want to, I'll let the big lizards take you out right here, and you can rot. Seeing the blade near her neck, she agrees and swears by the River of Styx. If he helps her, Sway and Choi will escape. She promises to do whatever he wants. He then says it worked and asks Lucio to fill the king in on what's going on. Not long after, she's free and relieved she wasn't executed. She thanks Junior for the help, but he quickly replies, "First off, I'm not your junior. And secondly, you better be ready for my request." Just like some viewers here, this girl has some odd ideas and is already thinking about some pretty close favors. But of course, our guy would never ask for something like that. Right, guys? He's a cultured guy, you know? That's why sometimes bring in Emagon. We see too many heroes who just sit around, and now and then, we need one who actually gets things done. Right then, a mission pops up on the screen. Defeat the Crimson Invader and save the Lizard Realm. You've got 3 hours to do it. The reward? The kingdom's treasure. He's stunned. 3 hours is way too tight. Last time he had 50 hours, and he was still nervous. He turns to Lucio and says they need to get moving, no time to waste. He bolts off at full speed, but Junior was about to ask him to wait. Next to the king, she thinks, that jerk didn't even let me finish. Oddly enough, the king is still wide awake next to her. That's not normal. Meanwhile, our guy is already on his bike, zooming ahead. It's 30 kilometers away, man. This king really gave him no time at all. Getting there on time is the least of his worries. The real issue is what he'll do when he gets there. Lucio tells him to ease off the gas, but he says that's not happening. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Sue-Ann pops up in front of him. Looks like you've got a little problem, she says. He nearly freaks out, wondering how this girl got there. He hits the brakes and stops right next to her. Already annoyed, he asks why she's following him when he told her to stay put. The troublemaker winks and says, I couldn't let you suffer after saving me. He tells her to stay out of it. No matter what happens, he's going to ask for that favor. But she smirks and says, I'm sure you won't be in such a rush once you hear what I have to say. She knows exactly what monster he needs to hunt, the Red Drake. That's when he remembers. Someone had already said this creature was super scary, and he was just supposed to gather info. Yeah, he really should have been paying more attention. It was clear from the beginning. He wonders if Selingen already knew about the link between the Red Drake and the King since he told him to check both out. Looking at her, Sue-Ann doesn't seem too keen on risking her life against that beast, but she has no choice. She needs to earn his trust to get a piece of the lizard people's treasure, so she claims she knows the quickest way to the Red Drake and can lead him there. Hyjin replies, I thought your only skill was stealing, so how are you planning to help me? But the girl just smirks and says, here's a tip, Junior. Never underestimate someone you don't know well. She promises to help him find the creature, but never said she'd fight with him. With all the confidence in the world, she says, a good thief always has a few tricks to get out of any jam. A bit later, our guy is zooming through a red forest, this time with a woman on the back of his bike. Wow, this kid is really turning into a beast. Up ahead, they spot a massive, muscular red lizard. She points at it and says, there it is, the Red Drake. Now it makes sense why Seonjin called it a terrifying monster. Lucio asks if they even have a chance. Hyjin just says, we'll only find out if we try. He quickly switches his gear to battle mode and turns on his helmet. With a super jump, he launches right at the creature, ready to throw a punch. This creature is rated a level 7 boss, and Hyjin smashes it right in the head. Man, I really thought this would be one of those scenes where the monster disappears on impact. But nope, the beast got back up roaring and our boy is pumped. Alright, he grins. Time to take this thing down. Looks like he already landed another hit. This time, from way up in the sky, the explosion spread out. Below, Sue-Ann covered her face, completely stunned. How is he pulling this off? Since Hermes picked her, she's dealt with tons of challenges that most hunters wouldn't even dream of. But even she can't figure out what's going on right now. Our guy is out here throwing punches like a little Lee. The Red Drake stumbled and fell back. Our dude is looking just like Master Lee, and she knows the Hunter Association sees this creature as a near level 7 monster. With all the monsters popping up in dungeons around the world, this one's in the top 10. Wow, I didn't realize it was that powerful. Thanks for the heads up. She knows that, like her, this guy was chosen by Hermes, but there's no way he got this strong just from that. Plus, every high-level hunter these days has at least 15 years under their belt. Most of them were picked by mythical gods, too. But she's sure Hyjin got his powers less than a year ago. So how is he stronger than hunters with way more experience? And the way the Red Drake is acting, she knows something's off. Ah, I get it now. The Drake is looking for our guy, who's up there with his helmet on, causing chaos while the beasts are totally oblivious. That's when the fool realizes he's using a cannon. The monster roars again and goes for a big hit. It lands hard on the ground, but it looks like nothing happened. Hyjin's up in the air, saying the monster's plan now is just to swing wildly since it can't find him. But this thing is still a monster, and monsters exist for one reason. To drop loot and take a hit to the head, the whole ground blows up. A bit later. Wow, I think there's barely anything left of that poor thing. Wait, not just a bit later. Much later. Hyjin admits he has no clue how many punches he threw. But oh man, the big lizard is still hanging on. Yeah, this turned out to be tougher than it looked. And now there's a big issue. His disguise is about to wear off. Even if his helmet keeps him hidden, he won't pack much of a punch anymore. So what's left? Go all out with everything he's got. He quickly calls in the big guy to end this for good. Jumping at the giant lizard, he shouts for it to vanish. The creature seems to sense something coming, but I think it's just a stick to the face. Or maybe not. Man, sometimes the animations throw me off too. The jerk dodged it, but how did it pull that off? He can't even see him. Sometimes our guy can be a bit dense, but this time he gets it. The massive swing messed up the helmet's invisibility. And the real issue? The red drake is coming in for a heavy hit. The blast looks like a direct hit, and Suvin wonders why the heck that idiot didn't dodge. So far, everything seemed fine. So why did he do that? That's when Lucio chimes in. You're a foolish human. She warns her that jumping in now will just mess things up. She might as well hang back and watch. Meanwhile, Lucio has no clue where this nymph came from or why she's hiding in the bushes. But she believes in our guy. Shiono's Heijin is okay, so there's no need to stress. He's faced tons of dangerous situations before, and every time he found a way out. That's why so many gods trust him today. No way Heijin's losing to a monster like that, Sunan laughs. Sorry to burst your bubble, nymph, but that kid just took a hit from the giant lizard. No one walks away from that. But then she spots something strange. Our boy is climbing. Wow, this big lizard is soft, he mutters. She's confused. What's he doing hanging onto the boss like that? And why is Lucio suddenly rooting for him? The clothing effect only had 57 seconds left. Right then, while climbing, our boy sees something. A weird, star-shaped crystal right under the beast's throat, near its neck. Lucio yells, trying to warn him. That's the beast's weak spot. He instantly gets it. This has to be a weak point. He quickly opens the shop, because if he's going to take this thing down, he needs something powerful. Then he asks Lucio, is the red drake a dragon? She answers, I'm not sure. But with a reverse scale like that, it's probably a special type of wyvern. In that moment, he buys something from the shop. If that's true, then it's a kind of dragon, he says. Our boy just dropped from 1,300,000 points to 1,000,000. I don't know what the effect is, but that sword cost a fortune. Look at this guy. He bought Sigurd's sword, the Dragon Bane, and he's still stuck like an idiot in the beast's chest. Meanwhile, Suin has no clue how he summoned Graham, but Heijin knows one thing. Now with this sword, he can finally take down the beast by hitting its weak spot. He charges in for the strike, and the monster's eyes blaze with fire. Oh man, looking at Heijin's expression, this isn't looking good. He's totally lost. Why are flames suddenly erupting all over the monster? Our guy gets knocked back thinking, is this the creature's last resort? He slams into the ground. Oh great, this is not good. There's no way he can hit the weak spot while the monster's in this state. Lucio warns him to watch out. Suyin rushes over, yelling for him to get out of there. Faye's tube is way more dangerous. She runs to him, saying they need to team up now. But he shakes his head. No way. It's better if you stay back. You can't hide your presence. But of course, this girl always has a trick. She grins and says, just sit back and see what I'm about to do. Then she tosses a potion, Demeter's Tear. It's an ice potion from the nature goddess. That stuff freezes the monster on contact. In no time, the Drake King turns into a popsicle, and she tells our guy to go finish the job. He wonders why she didn't use that from the start, and she replies it's obvious. She was waiting for the monster to hit its second phase. She insists it was on purpose. She could have thrown it earlier, and suddenly, they start bickering, until Lucio tells him to act before the creature wakes up.
Yeah!
Guess what? The monster's up. Oh, really? Smart move. Suyin never thought anyone could break out of Demeter's prison so easily. And to make things worse, the creature's body was back on fire. Heijin had only 20 seconds left on his suit. Su Yun tells him this is her last shot to create an opening for him to take down the scale. She tosses her last potion, another tier of Demonure. But this one's plant-based. Honestly, I didn't think it would work on plants. It hit the creature and melted right away. But with no other choice, our guy charges in, suit down. He leaps in to hit the scale head-on. A huge purple slash strikes the level 7 boss right where it's weak. Wow, he chopped its head off. I thought he just needed to break the scale. That guy actually took down the Red Drake. Meanwhile, at Songjun's guild HQ, Doyon mentions they've wrapped up some research on nearby dungeons. The guild leader thanks him and tells him to take it easy today and get ready. But then Doyon says he heard something in the elevator and wants to know if it's true. It sounds like he got some kind of time bomb from the association to deal with. The leader confirms it's the Lizardman dungeon, and they have no clue how to handle it. Apparently, they found out our guy cleared the dungeon 2 days ago. When he got the call from Heijin saying he was done, he thought it was about the investigation. But then Doyon says no, he didn't wrap up the investigation. He took out the Red Drake. That wasn't the plan at all. It just sort of happened. Sangjun, of course, thought he was joking. But when he sent the team to check the dungeon, they found out the truth. He never thought the kid would suddenly change his mind and do something like this. The issue is, how's he going to explain this to the association? Sure, everyone's relieved that the creature set to wreck the city is finally gone. But now, the fact that it died so unexpectedly is going to be tough to explain. That's because Heijin's contract had a rule that his identity couldn't be revealed at all. But someone has to take the credit for taking down the level 7 monster, and whoever it is will be under a lot of scrutiny. Doi is pumped, saying the delivery guy is a total beast. At this rate, he could take down most top hunters. Songjin says saying that he might have to drop his rank to A. Right away, Doyen changes his mind, forget it. No need to bump up his rank. No one has to know he took out the monster. Let's just leave it as is. And now Seonjin is curious. He took down the Red Drake. But what about the info on the Lizard King? And here we are, right in the fancy castle. Yoshi bursts in, furious, ready to worship our boy, the hero. Lucio says they're thanking him for saving them and tells him to stop stating the obvious. Then he grabs the king's hand and says, I just did what I had to. No need to bow in thanks, poor king. He probably doesn't get that what our boy really wants is a thank you in cash. Obviously, I knew that before I even saw this scene. And now look at him, he looks unwell. Then Yoshi pulls out a massive treasure chest that looks like one of those bad loot chests. Ah, yeah. They crack it open, and both of them look pretty impressed. So I guess it's something cool. Inside, there's just a small bag. The king asks if he likes it. But as usual, our boy is standing there thinking, what a load of junk. He's about to tell the king he risked his life to take down a super strong creature, only to end up with a bag. But like always, Lucio knows what this is. She says it's not just any bag. Hajin asks what it is, and she explains. It's like a game inventory. You can keep adding stuff, and it won't fill up. Then the scene jumps to the next day. The deep web Yoshis are all saying goodbye to our boy. Bright and early, our boy gets a call from Seonjin with some news. Apparently, the Nasasen City gate has vanished. Most likely, the gate was just a way for the lizardmen to escape if the Red Drake attacked. But now that their kingdom is safe, they don't need it anymore. So, the portal was closed. He's just now realizing that maybe there are ways to shut portals without having to wipe out everything inside. If that's the case, maybe monsters and humans don't always have to be at war. Or maybe he's just being too hopeful, and peace is impossible. While he's deep in thought, Suen calls out to him and congratulates him. She says she saw what reward he got and is sure it'll be super useful. He agrees, but asks if she's happy with how it all turned out. She used those valuable potions and didn't even get anything back, but she replies that she wouldn't get involved if she didn't have a way to gain from it. That sneaky girl is hiding something on her arm. What a little thief. He asks what's going on and when she got it. Without answering, the sly girl is already walking away, saying she enjoyed her time with him. And thanks to him, she got exactly what she wanted. Just like that, she's gone, and he's left thinking that a thief is always a thief. But that's not his issue anymore. Time to head home. Susio asks if they're leaving, but he says not yet. First, he needs to collect his payment. Whoa, here comes 8 billion. That's like 8 million bucks. Sang Jun mentions they'll check out the whole Red Drake body and share the profits with him. Dan must have forgotten how much cash you can make from monster remains. He's so used to just making deliveries that he forgot this can be the most lucrative part of dungeons. Maybe he shouldn't leave any monsters behind from now on. Lucio's curious why he's so hyped. Seriously, just tell her to come eat breakfast already. But she catches the smell of chicken and thinks it's weird. They had chicken earlier, and he figured she wouldn't want any, but now she's craving it. He offers her a soda, but she's not interested and burns her tongue anyway. He wonders if she starved in a past life. He's munching on leftover chicken from yesterday, saying that when chicken's good, it's good no matter what. Even the next day, it's still awesome. Not long ago, he was stuck eating the worst chicken from stores, and man, that gave him heartburn. But now he can drop $30 on chicken like it's nothing. Life with cash is really nice. This capitalist never slows down, while Lucio says she'll share her chicken bone with him. Right then, a new delivery comes in. Well, not exactly a delivery. It's a delivery request. As soon as Lucio sees it, she starts shoving all the chicken in her mouth, knowing they're about to head out on another crazy adventure. But our boy isn't living that hustle life anymore. He says, first we eat breakfast, then we'll handle the delivery. Now that he's got 10 billion in his account, he can take it a bit easier. What doesn't look calm, though, is the Greek territory. The whole city's on fire, and there are a ton of casualties. One soldier insists they can't let this monster move forward. They're going after a beast with golden eyes, right in the middle of the smoke. Meanwhile, someone tells the king they're giving it their all, but even that isn't cutting it. There's no way they can hold back this monster's raw power. The king, however, wants to know about the hero they summoned. The soldier says they sent for the hero, but it'll take 3 days for him to get here. The king thinks that's way too long. By then, the palace and everyone inside will be gone. Just then, the whole place starts shaking. An explosion goes off on the fortress walls, and the Minotaur appears, staring down the king, who's shaking and calling out to Poseidon, asking if they've really been abandoned in their time of need. Meanwhile, at Hephaestus' place, our guy's confused about why he isn't there. Lucio suggests he might have left early since they're running late. Our guy blames Lucio. That girl wanted to throw chicken thighs in the air fryer before they took off. Now he's thinking his phone's been buzzing a lot, so maybe it's something important. Yeah, Hyjin really messed up, huh? The dude was munching on chicken thighs while people were dying. What a jerk. At that moment, Lucio glances back and someone's coming over. It's Hephaestus, looking really mad. Finally, you catch on. Right away, our guy freezes, awkwardly asking, "You guys need a delivery?" Hephaestus says he called him because it's urgent. Something needs to be dealt with right now. What he needs to do is tough, but they'll go over the details inside. The guy just nods and says he gets it. At the table, the little dwarf says it's a big problem, and he doesn't even know where to begin. For some reason, Hyjin looks extra clueless and tells him to start wherever. I'll try my best to get it. This time, he's more nervous than ever. It's weird, but Hephaestus seems really unsure, which means something risky is on the way. Then Hephaestus brings up his chat with Freya. Hyjin recalls that tale about the realms being split into 7 pieces. Then the dwarf spills the beans. He was counting on the Olympians and others to sort this out, but things are just getting worse. It looks like the creatures invading have already reached places the gods can't access. At the Olympian Council, they got a clearer picture of what's happening. The creatures aren't just invading other mythical realms. They're already stepping into the human world. The root of this disaster wasn't only in the higher realms. It has already spread to the lower worlds and even the underworld. And the real issue? Thanks to the law of causality, the gods can't interfere with what the creatures are doing in the human world. The only silver lining is that the creatures can't move as freely as they want. All they do is plant some seeds, wait for them to grow, and see what happens. That's when Hyjin calls out to Hephaestus, saying he's totally confused. What's this seed talk? Who are these gods? What's happening? His friend asks if he really has no clue, and he says, of course I'm talking about, but suddenly, everything stops. Hyjin says he didn't get it and asks him to say it again. Lucia says she only heard some weird static. Hephaestus realizes that because of the gods' laws, he can't share this info with the boy. A long time ago, the gods teamed up to hide this thing, so it makes sense that even saying its name is off limits. He reassures the boy not to stress about it. In time, he'll get all the details. After all, the task he's tackling today is tied to all of this. He mentions they were supposed to get a tribute from someone named Crichton, but it still hasn't shown up. Luckily, his dad didn't catch wind of it since he's busy with the council meeting. If he had found out, he'd be really mad. That's why our boy needs to figure this out before his dad finds out. And of course, there's a nice reward waiting for him. From what I gather, they were meant to receive something, but it never came. They definitely don't want Poseidon to find out because he'd make their lives miserable. For sure, I think that covers it. Our boy says that based on what they've said, it doesn't seem super urgent, so why the hurry? Lucio explains that if it were any other king, it wouldn't be a big deal. But this is King Minos. For him, being late for anything is totally unacceptable. King Minos was a guy who threw his own kingdom into chaos, all because he went against Poseidon by refusing to sacrifice a white bull. That's how the famous labyrinth came to be, a place where anyone who walks in is doomed. Inside, there's a Minotaur trapped. I still don't see how being late connects to a Minotaur, but I'm sure we'll figure it out soon, especially since our boy is already on his bike, or not. His water walking buff is almost up, and he needs to stop on this little island before he goes under. Lucio tells him to be more careful. Our boy replies that he didn't realize it was this far. He decides to grab something from the shop to help him swim. But Theseus' boat, 30,000. The Argonaut's ship, 50,000. Nose's ark, 100,000. No way he can pay for any of that. Lucio asks what they'll do, and our boy says they'll just have to look around for now. Maybe they'll find something useful. He digs into his endless bag and says this is why he brought it. He had already packed it, with a bunch of stuff he thought might come in handy. You packed a boat, genius? Not binoculars to just stand there looking. That's when he spots a temple in the distance with smoke coming from it. He thinks it could be a good place to stop on the way to Creighton Island. Suddenly, a soldier pops up in his binoculars, asking who they are. Not just one, but a bunch demanding to know why they're here. Our boy tells them to chill out. He's just looking for a boat to Cretan Island. When one soldier gets mad, asking if he knows where he is, another guy puts a hand on his shoulder. A strange man speaks up. If you don't mind, I'd like to hear him out. Our boy thinks this guy is odd. I think he's the sketchiest person here. The guy doesn't even have eyes drawn on. Oh wait, that's Theseus, another legendary hero. For the first time, our boy seems to recognize him, and Lucio quickly says, Theseus is the hero who took down the Minotaur. Plus, he was the only one to escape the labyrinth. He even became king of Athens, and went on tons of adventures with the help of many gods. Theseus mentions that judging by the weird outfit, he must be the divine delivery guy he's heard about. Seeing the boy's reaction, Theseus is pretty sure he's right. He says it wasn't hard to figure out. After all, not everyone wears that kind of outfit. Apparently, he heard about our boy from Captain Jason of the Argo crew. Then our boy remembers. That's the guy who wanted him to handle those sirens. But he's a bit lost about this whole rising hero thing. Theseus points out that it looks like he's clueless about what people are saying. Everyone knows he pulled off the impossible by crashing the siren's lair, took down the Hydra, and even fixed Chiron's leg. Plus, he even went to Helheim to deliver something to those Norse gods. The kid's really making a name for himself, and now everyone in the divine world knows who he is. Oh great, now he's full of himself. What a smug guy, acting like he really did all that. Lucio is curious about what they're saying about her. Theseus mentions he's heard the divine delivery guy has some kind of assistant. The poor girl drops to the ground, heartbroken, saying she's just an assistant now. Then Theseus gives him a piece of paper, saying it'll help if he wants to get to Cretan Island. Our boy checks it out, and wow, there it is. He's got the legendary map. But then, Lucio points out that the paper also says the threat is back. Hygen asks, didn't you kill a Minotaur ages ago? The god clarifies that he never actually killed the Minotaur. He just sealed it away in the labyrinth forever. The issue is, he has no clue how the seal got broken. That's why he's off to Cretan tomorrow morning to finally take out the creature for good, and he asks if the divine delivery guy wants to tag along. Hygen is on the fence. He wasn't planning on fighting a monster this time around, but the kid's pumped and says he's got his back. Now he's acting all heroic, saying things don't always go as planned. Meanwhile, that king guy is in the Minotaur's clutches, and I can't tell if he's being carried or stomped on. But one thing's for sure, the Minotaur is not pleased. The next morning, our boy is trying to wake up Lucio, who always wants 5 more minutes. He reminds her again that the boat is about to leave, and they can't waste time. Poor Lucio, pleading to stop being treated so harshly. Hygen looks out the window, hoping Theseus managed to gather enough help. The day before, Theseus told him to get a good night's sleep and rest up. He was planning to gather as many people as he could for the trip. That's when Hygen asked how he managed to stop the Minotaur the first time. Theseus said he had help from Princess Ariadne. The Minotaur is a terrifying creature that brought chaos to King Minos and his whole family. It's said that this monster is a punishment from the gods for defying them. What's weird is that this beast was supposed to be stuck in the labyrinth forever. So how did it come back with enough power to wreak havoc on Crete again? Theseus said that's exactly what he wants to figure out. That's why they need to move fast before everything gets wrecked. He wants to put an end to this for good, so it never happens again. Then our boy asks why he's trying to gather so many people, instead of just heading out. Theseus explains he felt the same until he heard what Hercules had to say. Apparently, Hercules didn't actually say what people think he did, and our boy is still puzzled about it. He thinks it might tie back to what Hephaestus mentioned at the shop. Facing monsters is already tough, but it feels even worse knowing he might be getting into something way bigger. Lucio says she's ready for the adventure, and Hygen realizes she has no clue how dangerous this could be. At the docks, soldiers were loading crates onto the ship when our boy called out to Theseus. The hero replies, I figured I had to wake you up, kid. Lucio says Hygen sleeps too much and is a lazy bum. The guy says it's all good and tells them to hop on board. They'll catch up with the rest of the group later. Our boy is blown away by how huge the ship is. Maybe it's because it used to belong to the Argonauts, but it really looks like a pirate ship right out of a movie. Theseus responds, of course it belonged to a legendary hero. Our boy acts what Lucio just said, but she insists it wasn't her this time. Now he's confused because only a nymph would say something that annoying in such a high-pitched voice. Someone turns around and says, that's the usual reaction from a countryside nymph. A random guy is just standing there. Our guy turns around, and wow, here comes Lucio 2.0. This is starting to feel like Cosmo and Wanda, and this dude is basically a short-haired version of Lucio. And the worst part? She knows him. She calls him Louvre and says it's been ages. She gets all mushy, saying she never thought he'd help Theseus. Meanwhile, Louvre is pushing her face away, telling her to back off. They're not friends. This is the second nymph our guy has met, and he realizes Lucio wasn't lying about her height. Then someone asks, what are you still doing here, Louvre? It's Theseus, telling him to help the guests find their rooms. Our guy apologizes, saying it's not Lavor's fault. He's got his own troublesome nymph to handle. The hero says it's all good and tells them to get ready. They're leaving now. Our guy asks Lavor to show them to their rooms, but Louvre is still recovering from Lucio's roasting. Inside the ship, wow, they're actually in a pretty nice room. Then Louvre thanks our guy for not telling Theseus about the fight. Our guy says no problem. If he's friends with Lucio, then they're friends too. And just like that, they're already bickering. Louvre sighs, says fine, and leaves a bit down. Our guy finds it odd and asks if Theseus treats him poorly. Lucio explains that in the end, every nymph is seen as a servant. It's not that Theseus is mean to him. It's just that our guy Kai treats her differently. Hyjin realizes it's probably because in mythology, slavery was considered normal. Obviously, that doesn't make any sense to someone from the modern world. With that, the ship set sail, and they were already at sea. Theseus muttered to himself, "I never thought I'd be diving into this labyrinth again." They reached the city, and the soldiers started getting off the ship. The whole place was in shambles. Oh man, our boy was stunned. This wasn't a city, it was just a heap of debris. And the worst part? The people looked like they had suffered terribly. Theseus realizes this is all the Minotaur's doing. They needed to find any survivors. Lover pointed ahead, saying at least one building still seemed okay. Amid the wreckage stood the Temple of Poseidon, untouched. It was probably because this was a punishment from the god, and the beast was too scared to go near it. As they approached the temple, they noticed a trail of blood leading to the entrance. When Theseus opened the door, expecting the Minotaur, he found a crowd of desperate people. The crowd got emotional when they saw Theseus. He felt relieved to know that at least some had made it. The few survivors were being led to the boats, and our boy felt a sense of relief knowing some lives were saved. Then, an old man approached him, calling out that he had crucial info. The Minotaur had taken King Minos captive. Our boy, with his genius IQ of 32, asked where the king was taken. Dude, are you kidding? Obviously, it took him to the darkest depths of the labyrinth. And the real issue is, the longer they wait, the tougher it'll be to get likes on this video that helps Mamoru create more awesome content for fans. So hit that cheeky little bell and I'm out.